Chapter 27-22, Badly Wounded Bang. Jian Wushuang Yi Shen and the Devilish Wind King were directly sent flying by the golden sword light after a loud bang. However, Yi Shen waved his hand at the moment they were sent flying. A mighty wave of gray haze immediately came pouring out like huge gray snakes. There was a huge number of gray snakes that completely covered the golden principal spirit entirely. "Let's go now," Yi Shen yelled softly. Jian Wushuang and Devilish Wind King also grabbed this opportunity to walk past the golden principal spirit and skim toward the void in front of them. The golden principal spirit they met was pestered by the gray snakes, so it failed in taking action to stop them. They almost succeeded in moving past the golden principal spirit when suddenly, a ghostly golden figure appeared beside the three of them. "What?" Jian Wushuang and the two others' expressions changed. They noticed that the golden figure which suddenly appeared was the second golden principal spirit. However, was that second golden principal spirit not being pestered by Hong Chen and Long Shenzi? Why did it run over to their side? Whoosh! The golden principal spirit waved its sword as the golden sword light directly attacked Jian Wushuang, who was the closest. "Be careful." Alliance Master Su Han dodge. Both the Devilish Wind King and Yi Shen immediately called out loudly. Jian Wushuang also had a frightened expression on his face and subconsciously waved the sword in his hand to block the attack. As a result, Jian Wushuang was crushed the moment both sword lights met. Puff! Jian Wushuang directly vomited a mouthful of blood as his face turned pale. "Retreat now." The Devilish Wind King and Yi Shen beside him immediately took action. Moments later, Hong Chen and Long Shenzi also rushed over and finally relieved the pressure on Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, Devilish Wind King, and Yi Shen finally made their way out of this void area shortly and appeared at the edge. Saber Master, Hong Chen, and Long Shenzi had soon got rid of the golden principal spirit that was pestering them and arrived at the area. "Alliance Master Su Han, are you alright?" The Devilish Wind King looked over at him. "I'm alright, I'm just slightly wounded." Jian Wushuang was extremely pale with his breathing comparatively weakened to before. It obviously looked like he was badly wounded. Of course it was all just an act. The sword attack from the golden principal spirit was extremely powerful but still slightly insufficient to really injure him. In addition, he would be able to instantly recover by relying on his divine power even if he was badly injured. Although the six of them seemed to be working together, everyone had their own motives. It was only natural that Jian Wushuang did not want to expose too much of his strength. Apart from that, he had to purposely hide his true strength so the five other grand ultimate gods did not pay too much attention to him. The golden principal spirit's attack provided him a great opportunity to hide his strength, hence he pretended to be badly wounded by the golden principal spirit. Hong Chen and Long Shenzi are supposed to pester the second golden principal spirit. The two of them are high-level grand ultimate gods with high combat power, so they can't possibly fail in keeping a golden principal spirit distracted. Hence, if I guess correctly, the two of them purposely allowed the previous occurrence to happen. "More specifically, Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen did it on purpose," said the Devilish Wind King softly while standing beside Jian Wushuang. "Oh." Jian Wushuang's facial expression slightly quivered as he glanced at Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen beside him. The latter acted as though it had nothing to do with himself and did not even glance at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently when he saw the situation. He knew Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen had purposely lured the second golden principal spirit over but did not bluntly point it out. "He must be trying to test my true strength?" Jian Wushuang thought to himself. He knew that among the 6 grand ultimate gods who entered the secret realm that time, 5 knew of each other well as they had previously explored the realm together. Although their visit was 50 years later, there should not be any huge changes in their strength. However, he was different. Everybody in the Danyang continent knew he was a top genius who killed FOE head-on when he was still a peak heaven ultimate god. Currently, he had already made a breakthrough from peak heaven ultimate god to a primary level grand ultimate god after 30 years. His strength must have increased to a whole new level, but the 5 present had no idea how strong he was. Therefore, Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen had planned to test him on purpose with the help of the Golden Principal Spirit and forcing him to take action. It was best if that move forced him to show his true strength. Unfortunately, Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen was fated to be disappointed as Jian Wushuang did not display his true strength and even pretended to be heavily wounded. On top of that, his pretense was so good the Grand Ultimate gods around him could not see through it. The Su Han Grand Ultimate God shot a glance at Jian Wushuang but slightly frowned. "I heard he killed FOE head-on 30 years ago when he was still a peak heaven ultimate god. He should be extremely strong since he is currently a primary level grand ultimate god." Even if he's not as powerful as me, he should be comparable to my strength. However, the power that he displayed just now, humph. Looks like there's some embellishment about his previous success in killing FOE. After all, the difference between a Heaven Ultimate God and Grand Ultimate God is huge and isn't something a person can easily compensate for. Apart from that, FOE had strong combat prowess, hence I don't think he did it alone and must have worked with a couple of people to kill FOE. Even if he did it alone, he must have paid a serious price and used some unbelievable final measures that must be something not easily used. His true strength is just like this. Even though he had made a breakthrough, his combat power is still some distance away when compared to a high-level Grand Ultimate God, thought Hong Qin to himself as though already had a vague judgment toward Jian Wushuang's combat prowess. He had no idea what he saw was Jian Wushuang purposely putting on an act to show him. Therefore, his judgment had been wrong from the beginning. We've passed the second dangerous area, so let's continue onward, said Saber Master. All right. The other Grand Ultimate Gods nodded. Alliance Master Suhan, don't worry. We should arrive at the inner area of this secret realm after passing through the second dangerous area. Apart from that, there will be a place for you to rest and recover your divine power, said the Devilish Wind King. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. The group continued to glide toward the void ahead. Jian Wushuang was still extremely pale during the journey as he continuously took a couple of healing pills before his complexion finally got better. After continuously gliding forward for half an hour, a huge floating castle located at the black and huge void in front of them appeared. The old castle was the true core of that secret realm. Chapter 27-23, 6 Interspatial Rings. What a big ancient castle. Jian Wushuang was so enthralled by the giant castle floating in front of him. Is it big? You should check out the inside. It's even bigger. Devilish Wind King said with a smile. Let's go in, Saber Master suggested, and the 6 figures headed toward the ancient castle. After passing through the ancient castle's gate and a corridor, Jian Wushuang and those 5 other men arrived in a dim palace. We're here again. Devilish Wind King and Ishin were excited. Look over there. Ishin pointed in one direction. Jian Wushuang followed the direction and his pupils shrunk. At the end of that direction, there were 6 balls of light suspended in tranquility with each ball of the light containing an interspatial ring within. There were 6 balls of light and 6 interspatial rings. The Devilish Wind King looked extremely excited and he said, It's the same as the one we met last time. Alliance Master Suhan, this is your first time here in this secret realm, so you might not know this. 50 years ago we wandered in this secret realm and ended up here. There were also 6 interspatial rings in this palace with each of the 6 containing some treasures. Each of us obtained one of the rings last time including FOE, so I don't know what was in his ring. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up in excitement. FOE must have gotten the second Fengtian scroll from this secret realm. The second Fengtian scroll was from this palace here. Suddenly Jian Wushuang's gaze moved and he was puzzled. Wait. You took the 6 interspatial rings the last time you came from this palace? Then it should be empty now. How come the same 6 interspatial rings have reappeared? We're perplexed as well. The Devilish Wind King shook his head. The way I see it, these 6 interspatial rings could have been deliberately placed here by someone who likely is this secret realm's owner. Jian Wushuang was slightly startled, but he nodded secretly. It was probably like the Crimson Stone Saint, who was an ordinary undying saint expert but able to leave behind his consciousness in his tomb for a long time to choose his personal disciple. As for the owner of that secret realm, he must be adept if he was able to establish such a large secret realm. His abilities were likely to be far beyond the reach of Crimson Stone Saint. Therefore, it was normal for the secret realm master to leave his consciousness or some special methods behind in his secret realm. The chances were they probably had not discovered it yet. 6 interspatial rings and each of them contains treasures, but no one knows what is inside. We shall go by the rules set the last time. Each of us will get one of these 6 interspatial rings. I'll depend on our luck to discover what's inside the rings, said the Saber Master after glancing around at the 5 people. All right. Sounds good. Jian Wushuang and the several people nodded in agreement. No one knew what treasures were kept in those interspatial rings, so each of them would grab one of them. In the end, how valuable the treasures they got were solely dependent on their luck. Let's do it, Saber Master said and was the first one to move forward. He held one of the balls of light and took away the interspatial ring in it with a swing of his hand. Jian Wushuang, Hong Qin, Long Xianzi, and the rest made their moves at the same time. Each of them took one of the interspatial rings, which they had no idea what could be contained within. It was fair and square as there was no need to fight over the interspatial rings. After that, they began to check the treasures contained in their interspatial rings. Jian Wushuang was doing the same. He quivered at the sight of the contents in his interspatial ring and was surprised to find a pill. The pill was the size of a baby's thumb. It had a deep color and it exuded a unique breath of aura. It was a majestic breath of aura. Coincidentally, Jian Wushuang knew the pill and even saw it before. Huangji Golden Pill, this is the Huangji Golden Pill. Jian Wushuang was elated. The Huangji Golden Pill was the final treasure to be auctioned at the Star Picking Pavilion auction event held in the Narcissus territory and the grand finale. It was the treasure that got Nanwu Palace's young palace master, Divine Demon Sect, Life and Death Tower, and Dongfang clan vying fiercely for it. The pill was extremely helpful to ultimate gods. A primary level Grand Ultimate God who took a Huangji Golden Pill had more than a 30% chance to make a breakthrough to the high-level Grand Ultimate God realm. Even high-level Grand Ultimate Gods who took one Huangji Golden Pill had a chance to make a breakthrough to the peak Grand Ultimate God. It was no doubt that many Grand Ultimate God experts would be vying for the pill. Back then at the Narcissus territory, the Huangji Golden Pill fell in the hands of the Nanwu Palace's young palace master, which a large number of experts went forward to fight for it afterward. Even the other three top powerful forces had sent their Grand Ultimate God expert to fight for it, only showed the importance of the Huangji Golden Pill. Although Jian Wushuang only had one type of treasure in his interspatial ring, there were a total of 5 Huangji Golden Pills. 5 Huangji Golden Pills. My goodness! Jian Wushuang exclaimed. He knew that he was lucky. A large number of experts would have marked him had the news spread that he possessed 5 Huangji Golden Pills. The top forces would go all out to hunt him down and behead him for those 5 Huangji Golden Pill. After all, it would help those top forces bring up 5 Grand Ultimate God experts if those 5 Huangji Golden Pill were fully utilized. There might be a possibility to have 1 or 2 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods or even peak Grand Ultimate Gods. It was a sweet and attractive deal for those top forces. As for Jian Wushuang, the Huangji Golden Pill had little effect on him. He required too much divine power to make a breakthrough in his cultivation realm. The effect on him after having 1 Huangji Golden Pill was minuscule and almost impossible for him to make a breakthrough in his cultivation realm using the Huangji Golden Pill. Although he did not need it himself, he could give it to someone else or use it to win the hearts of some experts. He believed that many Grand Ultimate Gods would willingly be under his leadership for the sake of Huangji Golden Pills. It's indeed true that there are unlimited opportunities in this secret realm. FOE came and he got a Fengtian scroll while my current time here had allowed me to obtain 5 Huangji Golden Pills. I wonder what treasures the others have in their interspatial ring? Jian Wushuang glanced around curiously. Chapter 27-24. Cemetery. Besides Jian Wushuang, the other 5 also had one of those 6 interspatial rings. Jian Wushuang had no idea what treasures those 5 people had, but judging from their noticeable electrified expressions, they must have got some extremely precious treasures as well. The 6 of them gradually calmed down after the big surprise. Although the treasures we got from this palace are extraordinary, the real great opportunity of this secret realm is in its deepest part. What we have now is just some entree, said Saber Master. Jian Wushuang and the others nodded. They had indeed just entered the ancient castle and had merely gotten a door gift prepared for them by the secret realm's owner. Those treasures were nothing compared to the real opportunity within the secret realm. Would better be well prepared, especially for those who need to restore their divine power and heal their wounds. Let's be in our top form, as the journey we are facing next is not as easy as before, warned the Saber Master. Devilish Wind King and others looked solemn. They knew the oncoming events, so they felt a fair bit of pressure on their shoulders. The 6 people soon began to recuperate and recover their lost divine power in the dim palace. They were recovering from the trials they went through at the place of crisis second stage, where they dueled against the spirits of principles and lost a great deal of divine power. Jian Wushuang sat down and swallowed a few pills, pretending to be recovering from his injuries. 10 days passed by very quickly. After 10 days they had restored most of their divine power. Alliance Master Suhan, how are your injuries? Have you recovered from it? Devilish Wind King looked at Jian Wushuang. Fortunately, I've recovered 70% of my strength after swallowing some pills, but it'll probably take several months for me to fully recover, replied Jian Wushuang. Oh, do you want us to spend a month waiting for you here? Someone spoke coldly. It was none other than Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen. Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen, we're not in a rush, are we? We should be able to spend another month or so here, said Devilish Wind King. What do you mean? Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen shot a sharp glare at Devilish Wind King and seemed unhappy with his response. It's all right. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and smiled. Although my strength has not been fully restored, there shouldn't be a problem for me to get into some action. Let's start. Alliance Master Su Han, are you sure? Devilish Wind King frowned. Yes, I'm sure. Jian Wushuang smiled. Devilish Wind King did not say much after that. Let's move on quickly, suggested Saber Master. The other Grand Ultimate God exchanged looks. They were well prepared, so none of them had any disagreement. Jian Wushuang also nodded. The group of 6 soon set off again. They moved along the dim palace and continued to the depths of the ancient castle. After crossing a corridor, a huge cemetery appeared before Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was surprised to see the scene before him. What greeted his eyes was a huge piece of boundless dark gray land. On the ground were many small greenstone coffins about 2 yards lengthwise, which was the normal size for a human's usage. There were too many of those stone coffins. The stone coffins were densely packed with very little space between each of them and no end to it. Jian Wushuang conservatively estimated that there were at least a few thousand of those stone coffins just from seeing with his naked eyes. However, he probably only saw a small part of the entire cemetery. Alliance Master Su Han, have you noticed the black mist in this cemetery? Devilish Wind King beside Jian Wushuang glanced over his shoulder. Yes, the pungent black mist is coming from the corpses, said Jian Wushuang. Devilish Wind King agreed. Yes, it's the smell of the corpses. Precisely, I think it's poison released from the corpses and it's very strong. You can take 2 steps forward and have a look at it. Jian Wushuang took 2 steps forward as suggested by Devilish Wind King and immediately sensed the black mist sweeping toward him. A thick corpse scent filled his surroundings as the corrosive black mist came directly at him and attacked his divine body. It's very poisonous indeed. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes slightly. He could feel the poison released from the corpses in the black mist was potent and sufficient to corrode a cultivator's divine body. It could probably destroy the divine body of an ordinary heaven ultimate god within seconds. As for the Grand Ultimate Gods, they felt slightly better as they had the tyrannical divine power to resist the poison. However, a greater amount of divine power would be consumed the longer they stayed in the cemetery. These are some corpse poison pills. I've specially hired someone to refine these years. Although these are not high-level pills, it helps to resist the poison nonetheless. Alliance Master Su Han, I'll give you one of these. Devilish Wind King took out a reddish-black pill and handed it to Jian Wushuang. Thank you very much. Jian Wushuang thanked him as he accepted the corpse poison pill and immediately swallowed it. It did not make a difference to him whether he took the corpse poison pill or not. Jian Wushuang was a perfect chaotic creature. His divine body was impermeable by many types of poisons. Not to mention the poison from those corpses, he was immune to many other poisons that were 100 times more powerful. However, he pretended that he needed the corpse poison pill and consumed it. Devilish Wind King was not the only one as Saber Master. Hong Chen, Long Xianzi, and Yishan also came prepared with their corpse poison pills and swallowed it. Then, let's go, said Saber Master before the group of 6 immediately skimmed forward. Devilish Wind King was telling Jian Wushuang about the cemetery along the way. Alliance Master Su Han, this cemetery we are in now should be the 3rd stage place of crisis and it's more dangerous than the previous 2 places, said Devilish Wind King seriously. This cemetery is huge and extensive. I don't know for sure how big it is and how long it'll take to walk through this cemetery because we stopped here at this cemetery the last time we came to this secret realm. We were unable to go past this cemetery. Jian Wushuang showed quite a solemn expression upon hearing it. He knew Devilish Wind King and the others came with the same lineup of 6 Grand Ultimate Gods the last time they were at the secret realm but had stopped at the cemetery. The cemetery was very dangerous. This cemetery is mysterious and extremely dangerous. First and foremost is the corpse poison that is all over the cemetery. We did not prepare any corpse poison pill the last time we were here and had to rely on a lot of our divine power to resist the poison's corrosive effects. Therefore, our divine power had been insufficient for us to carry on. We came prepared this time, so it's much better. However, this poison isn't the most dangerous thing in this cemetery. Instead, the stone coffins around us are the most dangerous. Chapter 27-25. Corpse Puppet. There are innumerable stone coffins in this cemetery and we don't exactly know what's inside. We tried to open these stone coffins when we first came but failed, so we can't seem to find out what it is as well. All we did was walk blindly toward the deeper parts of this cemetery, that is the depths of this ancient castle. However, we came across a corpse puppet coming out of one of these stone coffins on our way. Devilish Wind Kind said. Corpse puppet? What's that? Jianghu Shuang frowned. The puppet is formed using a special method whereby the corpse of a cultivator is transformed into a puppet with part of the cultivator's soul also integrated into the puppet. That is what we call a corpse puppet. These corpse puppets are much more terrifying as compared to ordinary war puppets because they carry part of the deceased cultivator's soul power. Therefore, these puppets could perform many methods or techniques that the cultivator had used during his lifetime. Corpse puppets are well known in the ancient god domain as they can also hunt cultivators and devour a cultivator's soul power to improve their own strength, explained Devilish Wind King. Jianghu Shuang's pupils shrunk. He heard of refining cultivators into puppets, but it was his first time hearing about integrating the cultivator's soul into the puppet. What sounded even horrific was the fact that a corpse puppet could continuously improve itself by hunting cultivators and devouring their soul power. Are these corpse puppets powerful? How many are there in this cemetery? Jianghu Shuang asked. Well, you'll find out soon when we see them. Devilish Wind King smiled. Jianghu Shuang nodded slightly. The group of 6 kept going but dared not go too fast. They had been going for about less than a quarter of an hour when they passed on top of a stone coffin. Bang! A stone coffin abruptly lifted. The small hill-sized lifted coffin slammed itself at Long Xianzi, who happened to be the closest to it amongst those 6 people. Long Xianzi did not fluster as he pointed at the coffin from a distance before it immediately exploded. The 6 of them stopped and turned their eyes toward the stone coffin and noticed there was a figure lying within it. They saw a skinny old man with gray hair that looked very much like a skeleton. The old man's skin color was a faint silver while both his cheeks were sunken in. He was lying in the coffin, but his eyes were opened. The pair of chilly eyeballs in his eye sockets widened while an unknown ghost fire filled the depths of his pupils. In the next moment, whoosh! The gray-haired old man suddenly stood up as a stream of silver lights lit up. It's a silver-armored corpse puppet. It's just a silver-armored corpse puppet. It's not difficult to deal with. Saber Master glared coldly at the gray-haired old man. Look at his hand. Long Xianzi suddenly exclaimed. Everyone focused immediately and saw a dark ring on the gray-haired old man's finger. It was an interspatial ring. Haha, it seems like it's our lucky day. The first corpse puppet we came across in this cemetery is wearing an interspatial ring. Saber Master grinned. The ring must have belonged to his old man when he was alive and not a ring left by the Secret Realm's master. He must be a powerful high-level Grand Ultimate God before his death, since this is a silver-armored corpse puppet. The treasures in his interspatial ring should be extraordinary, said Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen. Let's talk no more. The 6 of us will destroy it together, suggested Long Xianzi. The 6 of them instantly agreed to it and immediately fired shots. Boom. Saber Master was the first to take action and displayed his strength that was several times stronger than an ordinary high-level Grand Ultimate God. He was the first to rush forward and fight the silver-armored corpse puppet. The silver-armored corpse puppet was equally powerful. It did not have the capability to evaluate its opponent's strength, so it went all out. The Saber Master very soon seized the fight advantage against the silver-armored corpse puppet. Jianghu Shuang, Hong Chen, Long Xianzi, Devilish Wind King, and Yi Shen were also firing shots from the surrounding area. The silver-armored corpse puppet could not stand against the attack for long. It was soon defeated by the team of 6 with its head cut off after a brief moment. The group of 6 then collected its interspatial ring. Saber Master laid the interspatial ring on his palm as the 6 of them scanned through it with their consciousness to check the treasures within. There were a lot of great valued treasures in the interspatial ring. The silver-armored corpse puppet was obviously much richer than an ordinary high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. There were nearly 3,000 divine elixir pill in the interspatial ring. The amount was less than what primary-level Grand Ultimate God FOE had. However, it was what any ordinary high-level Grand Ultimate God should possess. Even though FOE was only a primary-level Grand Ultimate God, he was the leader of a second-rated force. He used to manage all the treasures and resources belonging to Star Fort, so it was normal for him to be wealthier than most ordinary Grand Ultimate Gods. Ordinary primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods and even high-level Grand Ultimate Gods usually did not have many divine elixir pills. Divine elixir pill was hard to get after all. In addition to the divine elixir pills and a large number of resources, there were also many treasures in the interspatial ring. However, none of them were particularly valuable. Nothing was sufficiently attractive to trigger a Grand Ultimate God's greed or cause them to be vying for it. He'll take 30% of the treasures in this interspatial ring while Hong Chen and Long Xianzi get 20% each. As for the 3 of you, Devilish Wind King Yi Shen and Su Han, Each will take 10%. Do you agree? Saber Master looked over his shoulder. Jian Wushuang and the others exchanged looks and immediately nodded. They were seemingly satisfied with the treasure distribution. Saber Master had distributed the treasures based on their strength. He was the most powerful among them, so he took 30% whilst the two high-level Grand Ultimate Gods each took 20%. The remaining was shared between the three primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods, with each taking 10%. It was a fair arrangement. In fact, Jian Wushuang and the three primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods had gotten more than they deserved. The treasures and resources were soon allocated according to their respective proportions. After that, let's move along, said Saber Master. The 6 people carried on with their journey to venture deeper into the ancient castle. On the way, Devilish Wind King looked at Jian Wushuang. Alliance Master Suhan, how do you feel after seeing the silver-armored corpse puppet just now? He was very powerful. I guess he must ranked quite high among high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. I guess only Saber Master among the 6 of us could dominate him in a 1-to-1 battle. I'm afraid the few of us will have to retreat if we come across a silver-armored corpse puppet alone, said Jian Wushuang. Chapter 27-26. One more. The silver-armored corpse puppet was killed quite easily. It was because they were a group of 6 Grand Ultimate Gods with the powerful Saber Master at the forefront to suppress the corpse puppet. It was likely that even Hong Qin and Long Xianzi would be defeated in a 1-on-1 battle without Saber Master and them joining forces. The silver-armored corpse puppet was terrifying. Devilish Wind King, I guess the silver-armored corpse puppet is not the only danger in this cemetery, right? Jian Wushuang asked. Of course there's more. Devilish Wind King looked solemn. The scariest thing in this cemetery is the corpse puppet, but the silver-armored corpse puppet you saw was just one of them, and it was attacking us alone. There are 3 types of corpse puppets in this cemetery. They are bronze-armored corpse puppets, silver-armored corpse puppets, and gold-armored corpse puppets. Bronze-armored corpse puppets are the weakest, but their combat power is comparable to an ordinary high-level Grand Ultimate God. The one you saw was a silver-armored corpse puppet, and those are comparable to the more powerful ones amongst high-level Grand Ultimate Gods and could easily crush an ordinary high-level Grand Ultimate God. As for the final gold-armored corpse puppets, they are the scariest. The gold-armored corpse puppet has the combat power of a peak Grand Ultimate God. Did you say a peak Grand Ultimate God? Jian Wushuang was surprised. The gap between each Grand Ultimate God's level was huge. Saber Master was the top amongst high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. However, a peak high-level Grand Ultimate God should be able to easily suppress and even kill the Saber Master. On the other hand, a peak Grand Ultimate God should be able to defeat all 6 of them. Alliance Master Suhan, you probably don't know why the 6 of us stopped in this cemetery the last time we came. We encountered a gold-armored corpse puppet who was wearing an interspatial ring. We don't know the exact combat power of the gold-armored corpse puppet. We wanted to kill it and take its interspatial ring away instead of running for our lives. As a result, Devilish Wind King's face sank slightly when he narrated the story. Jian Wushuang chuckled as he could guess what happened after that. The gold-armored corpse puppet possessed the combat power of a peak Grand Ultimate God, yet the 6 of them did not flee. They even tried to kill it and take away its interspatial ring. They must have a death wish. In that battle, the 6 of us were completely crushed, such that even Saber Master was badly injured in just a jiffy. We got scared and immediately fled. Fortunately, our life-saving methods were not too bad and Saber Master was holding it back to buy us time. We were lucky enough to escape, but most of us had been seriously injured, especially Saber Master. Besides that, we did not prepare any corpse poison pill at the time and had to consume a lot of our divine power to resist the corpse poison's erosion. We had no way to advance, hence choose to temporarily leave, said the Devilish Wind King. Of course, the last time we weren't prepared at all and we didn't know the combat power of the gold-armored corpse puppet. However, we are all fully prepared this time. Even if we encounter the gold-armored corpse puppet again, we know that we can flee if we can't fight it and stand a greater chance of escaping. Jian Wushuang heard it and nodded. One more thing, the corpse puppets in this cemetery aren't alone at the time, as sometimes there are 2 or 3 together while other times more. There could be 5 to 6 silver-armored corpse puppets or more than a dozen bronze-armored corpse puppets grouped. In such cases, we can only run for our lives, added the Devilish Wind King. Jian Wushuang had a general understanding of the cemetery at that moment. The group of 6 continued their journey and approached the cemetery's end, which was the deepest part of the ancient castle. They knew the cemetery was not the location of the true opportunities in the secret realm, but rather a place they had to pass through to get to the true opportunities, just like the previous two places of crisis. 3 hours passed in a blink of an eye. During the 3 hours, the 6 of them encountered 2 other corpse puppets along their way. The first encounter was 4 corpse puppets at one go, but those 4 corpse puppets were just bronze-armored corpse puppets. They were just as powerful as high-level Grand Ultimate Gods which Hong Chen and Long Xianzi could fight against in one-on-one. It was relatively easy for them to handle the 4 corpse puppets with the 6 of them. After Saber Master beheaded the first bronze-armored corpse puppet, the remaining 3 corpse puppets that joined the battle were easily resolved. The second wave of corpse puppets they encountered was a little harder, as there were 2 silver-armored corpse puppets and 1 bronze-armored corpse puppet. However, those 3 corpse puppets merely gave them a little trouble and were handled in the end. The downside was only 2 bronze-armored corpse puppets from 2 waves of corpse puppets had interspatial rings on their hands, so the 6 of them had little treasures to share. The group of 6 did not slow down their pace. They were vigilantly observing their surroundings while skimming forward. Although they had sufficient understanding of the cemetery's dangers, they dared not lower their guards due to the possibilities of unknown dangers popping up. Suddenly, bang! A stone coffin near them was abruptly lifted. Again? The 6 of them stopped and immediately set their eyes on the stone coffin. After the first stone coffin was lifted, bang, 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 3 more sounds came within their earshots, indicating 3 more stone coffins were opened at the same time. 4 corpse puppets? Their expressions became a little solemn. 4 corpse puppets slowly stood up from those 4 open stone coffins. Among the 4 corpse puppets, 2 were filled with silver light and the other 2 were filled with bronze light. We have 2 silver-armored corpse puppets and 2 bronze-armored corpse puppets. This is a bit worse than what we previously experienced. The 6 of us can certainly handle them, said Devilish Wind King confidently. The other Grand Ultimate Gods, including Jianghu Shuang, nodded. They previously encountered 2 silver-armored corpse puppets and a bronze-armored corpse puppet at the same time and resolved it easily. It was certainly within their capabilities to cope with an extra bronze-armored corpse puppet. Look, 2 of the 4 corpse puppets have interspatial rings on their hands, Ishin exclaimed. Jianghu Shuang and the others also noticed that. A silver-armored corpse puppet and bronze-armored corpse puppet each were wearing an interspatial ring on their hands. Their eyes instantly lit up. However, just when the 6 of them were ready to eliminate the 4 corpse puppets in front of them, bang! Another stone coffin opened. Another one? The group of 6 was taken aback as their gazes moved toward the stone coffin. Chapter 27:27. Run. The 6 of them had their eyes fixed on the stone coffins as the figure of a short-haired woman slowly rose from the stone coffin under their scrutiny. The short-haired woman had dull and lifeless eyes. It was obviously a corpse puppet. However, the short-haired woman's body was filled with a faint golden light, unlike the other corpse puppets Jianghu Shuang and the others had seen before. Did you see the golden light? Devilish Wind King's eyes widened. Gold-armored. It's a gold-armored corpse puppet. A gold-armored corpse puppet with 2 silver-armored corpse puppets and 2 bronze-armor corpse next to it? Hong Chen, Long Xianzi, and Yi Shen were frightened. Run. Saber Master did not hesitate as he gave a command and moved at top speeds toward the opposite direction. Run, run. Hong Chen, Long Xianzi, Yi Shen, Devilish Wind King, and Jianghu Shuang did not hesitate either. The short-haired woman had dismissed their intention to fight. Although the short-haired woman also wore an interspatial ring on her hand, they did not have the slightest intention to covet it. It was no joke, as a gold-armored corpse puppet was comparable to a peak ultimate god. 50 years ago, apart from Jianghu Shuang, the 5 of them, including FOE, did not know the combat power of a gold-armored corpse puppet and naively went ahead with the battle. It was fortunate that none of them were sacrificed, even though the Saber Master was severely injured. After the painful experience, they no longer had the courage to carry on after seeing a gold-armored corpse puppet. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The 6 of them frantically ran. The short-haired woman who walked out of the stone coffin was a gold-armored corpse puppet. She had hollow eyes while the corner of her mouth was slowly muttering a word, kill. Boom. The gold-armored corpse puppet, 2 silver-armored corpse puppets, and 2 bronze-armored corpse puppets started frantically chasing after the 6 of them while moving at very fast speeds. The gold-armored corpse puppet had an exceptionally incredible speed. Saber Master shouted on top of his lungs, spread out and run. Spread out and run. The 6 of them immediately spread in different directions. While they were scattered all over the place, the 5 corpse puppets also went in separate directions. The 5 corpse puppets had their targets. A bronze-armored corpse puppet was chasing behind Jian Wushuang. It's okay. It's just a bronze-armored corpse puppet. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes and at the same time glanced around to check the others out. He was shocked to find out something. The Devilish Wind King sure is unlucky. The rest also gave the Devilish Wind King pitiful looks. The most terrifying gold-armored corpse puppet that even Saber Master could not compete with. That short-haired woman was aiming at the Devilish Wind King. Shit. There are so many of us. Why me? Devilish Wind King was cursing under his breath with a gloomy expression. There were only 5 corpse puppets while there were 6 of them fleeing for their lives. Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen was the only one without a corpse puppet staring down or chasing him and seemed very relaxed. The one chased after Saber Master was only a bronze-armored corpse puppet which he could easily handle with his strength. Who would have thought the most terrifying gold-armored corpse puppet would not go for Saber Master or the 2 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods, Hong Chen and the Long Shinzi? It went for the Devilish Wind King instead. It was not the Devilish Wind King's lucky day. Apart from the unlucky Devilish Wind King, Yi Xin isn't looking too good either, mumbled Jian Wushuang. He looked in the direction of Yi Xin who was also trying his best to flee while the one chasing after him was a silver-armored corpse puppet. Although not comparable to the gold-armored corpse puppet, the silver-armored corpse puppet had the combat prowess of a peak high-level Grand Ultimate God and Yi Xin might not be able to handle it in a one-on-one battle. In other words, Jian Wushuang had the better luck among those 3 primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods whereby he was only spotted by a bronze-armored corpse puppet. This cemetery is extremely dangerous and the gold-armored corpse puppet is even more terrifying. We'll be targeted if we aren't careful. Now that the 6 of us are scattered all over the place. Only Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen has the capacity to help Devilish Wind King and Yi Xin while none of the others can offer help at the moment. However, I'm afraid that Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen may not be willing to help at all, murmured Jian Wushuang softly and shook his head. Devilish Wind King and Yi Xin. Both of you take care. Jian Wushuang sighed and sped up. As Jian Wushuang expected, Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen did not care about Devilish Wind King and Yi Xin even though there was no corpse puppet chasing behind him and continued to run following his path. The 6 of them were scattered in different directions while moving very fast and would soon lose sight of each other. Jian Wushuang was skimming forward swiftly in the void above the cemetery. His specialization at spacetime law allowed him to be good with speed, hence he was not even moving at his top speed yet the corpse puppet behind him was already unable to get close. There are many corpse puppets in this cemetery so I shouldn't walk around alone. Otherwise I may arouse more corpse puppets. I'd better get rid of this bronze-armored corpse puppet as quickly as possible or I can just kill it. Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed slightly as he noticed the bronze-armored corpse puppet behind him happened to be the one wearing an interspatial ring. A bronze-armored corpse puppet. Jian Wushuang glanced around the void. Saber Master, Devilish Wind, and the others were very far away from him and would not be able to see his show of power and method from afar. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang suddenly pulled to a stop in the void before turning around. The bronze-armored corpse puppet that was following him had no reasoning skill as it maintained its speed and attacked Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang gave a cold smile. Buzz! A gush of majestic golden divine power surged behind Jian Wushuang before a huge and boundless 10,000-foot-tall golden god shadow was formed out of thin air. Divine God of Punishment. The 10,000-foot-tall Divine God of Punishment was the 3rd level of Divine God of Punishment. It was very different compared with previous levels of Divine God of Punishment. Those previous ones were just a shadow while the 10,000-foot-tall Golden God Shadow had completely solidified with its surface covered in a layer of bright golden armor. The magnificent Golden God Shadow was wearing golden armor and had transformed into a true Golden Emperor. The Golden Emperor stood behind Jian Wushuang with its sharp eyes bore into all things beneath it. Chapter 27-28 Easily killed Jian Wushuang displayed the 7-star secret technique within his body at the same time as the Golden Emperor rose to a height of 10,000 feet. His cultivation realm was elevated from high-level Heaven Ultimate God to peak Heaven Ultimate God as soon as that happened. His divine power breath being disguised by the black stone also made a breakthrough from primary-level Grand Ultimate God to high-level Grand Ultimate God. My divine power is not inferior to any high-level Grand Ultimate God when both Divine God of Punishment and the 7-star secret technique are performed concurrently. Next, let's look at my techniques. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and swayed while looking at the bronze-armored corpse puppet that was coming his way at an incredible speed. He appeared in front of the bronze-armored corpse puppet as though he had teleported. The bronze-armored corpse puppet possessed the combat prowess of a high-level Grand Ultimate God and immediately reacted to Jian Wushuang. His claw-like hands were positioned one in front of the other as it targeted Jian Wushuang's head. Jian Wushuang gently moved aside and perfectly dodged away from the two sharp claws. He soon thrust the Blood Mountain sword in his hand and seems to be wielding the sword at will. His sword movement seemed casual, but each sword movement was executed extremely well from tricky angles. The essence of his moves was his terrifying speed. The bronze-armored corpse puppet had some of the cultivator's soul power and it could perform some techniques the cultivator used during his lifetime. The two claws resembled a beast's sharp claws charging rapidly and frantically at Jian Wushuang. It made loud metal clanking sounds when colliding with Jian Wushuang's Blood Mountain sword. Jian Wushuang's ethereal figure was engaged in a fierce battle against the bronze-armored corpse puppet, but with a relaxed look. It's too slow, this bronze-armored corpse puppet is way too slow. Jian Wushuang fought fiercely but secretly shook his head disapprovingly. After fighting for some time, he found that the bronze-armored corpse puppet's power was not weaker than a high-level Grand Ultimate God with its offensive techniques were also extremely good. Technically, the bronze-armored corpse puppet was not slow as its two claws were moving rapidly. It was only considered too slow for Jian Wushuang, who was good at the spacetime law and had reached a very high understanding level on the spacetime law. The bronze-armored corpse puppet was tricked to move in circles even when Jian Wushuang merely attacked at will without putting much effort into his speed. It's too slow, so I don't need to display my full strength. It's boring. Jian Wushuang sighed and was no longer interested in carrying on the fight with the bronze-armored corpse puppet. His eyes flashed menacingly. Swish. He then made a strange forward thrust and swung the Blood Mountain sword in his hand. A sword light suddenly lit up. It was extremely beautiful and fascinating. It was amorphous yet so mesmerizing. Spacetime sword technique, 7th form, enchanted. The sword movement was so enchanting that any ordinary cultivator would likely be fascinated by its poignant sword light. However, the unconscious corpse puppet was not affected in any way. The sword movement was too fast with speeds that were not something a corpse puppet could handle. The poignant sword light smashed on the bronze-armored corpse puppet's body without any resistance. The bronze-armored corpse puppet was refined using special methods, hence its divine body was extremely powerful, far more powerful than a high-level Grand Ultimate God's. An ordinary frontal attack would not cause much damage to the corpse puppet. However, Jian Wushuang's rapid sword attack contained more than just his extremely powerful divine power. It also contained a large number of spacetime blades. The spacetime blades were formed upon reaching the second stage of spacetime law, spacetime strangulation. The spacetime blades were extremely sharp and powerful, and Jian Wushuang's sword attack contained a whopping 18 spacetime blades. Buzz. The sword light bombarded the bronze-armored corpse puppet's divine body as a terrifying strangulation power was discharged. The bronze-armored corpse puppet had no room to struggle as it was strangled and shattered. Half of the bronze-armored corpse puppet was completely shattered following the sword light's trajectory. In the void above the cemetery, Jian Wushuang slowly retracted his long sword and glanced indifferently at the bronze-armored corpse puppet's remains that had fallen to the ground below. I've meticulously studied for 30 years under the assistance of 2 Fengtian scrolls. I've improved a lot in both sword principles and understanding of laws in these 30 years and made great progress, especially in spacetime law. My divine power breath is equivalent to this bronze-armored corpse puppet when I executed both the divine god of punishment and 7 stars secret technique. In addition, I have a better understanding of spacetime law and sword principles than him, murmured Jian Wushuang. The bronze-armored corpse puppet was just an ordinary high-level Grand Ultimate God during his lifetime, so his understanding of laws and sword principles were still rather undeveloped. On the other hand, Jian Wushuang had only improved one level of cultivation realm in the past 30 years, but his understanding of laws and the sword principle had improved tremendously. As an example, he could only barely condense 2 spacetime blades from the spacetime law 30 years ago, but he was able to condense 18 spacetime blades in one go 30 years later. If he had done his best, condensing 20 spacetime blades was not a problem. His achievements were definitely one of the strongest amongst high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. Due to that, Jiang Wushuang could easily kill the bronze-armored corpse puppet under the premise of equivalent divine power. The interspatial ring naturally fell into Jian Wushuang's hands after beheading the bronze-armored corpse puppet. Jian Wushuang carefully scanned it and was satisfied with the resources contained within. It was the entire net worth of a high-level Grand Ultimate God after all. Jian Wushuang killed the bronze-armored corpse puppet by himself, so he did not need to share the resources and treasures in the interspatial ring with the rest. It was considered a big win. I wonder how the rest are doing now? Jian Wushuang wondered. The cemetery was too dangerous with corpse puppets everywhere. He was not bothered by bronze-armored corpse puppets, but would rather stay away from silver-armored corpse puppets or bronze-armored corpse puppets that could pose a great deal of risk and trouble for him. Therefore, he dared not move around, as the best option was to wait for the others to solve their trouble before regrouping together for the next course of action. Jian Wushuang stood there and waited quietly before Saber Master sent a message after a while. Saber Master was the strongest amongst the six, with his combat prowess very close to a peak Grand Ultimate God. He was chased by a bronze-armored corpse puppet, which was easily solved. He then summoned the other 5 after he was done. Chapter 27-29, The First to Fall. Alright, so we gather there. Jian Wushuang got the location shared by Saber Master and departed. Although the 6 of them had scattered and fled in different directions, they were not too far from each other. The other 5 also knew the location shared by Saber Master, and it was not difficult for them to head over there. Jian Wushuang did not go immediately, as he waited momentarily before setting off. He finally arrived at the void after Saber Master, God Hongqin, and Long Xianzi. Among the 3 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods, Saber Master and Hongqin both looked extremely relaxed, while Long Xianzi was extremely pale, with the corners of his clothes having traces of blood, while his breath of aura was quite weak. Long Xianzi, you? Jian Wushuang looked at Long Xianzi in surprise. 5 of them were targeted by a corpse puppet before everyone scattered and fled except for Grand Ultimate God Hongqin. The one who went after Long Xianzi was a silver-armored corpse puppet. Although the silver-armored corpse puppet was powerful, whereby Long Xianzi might not be able to resist its attack, Long Xianzi's methods and life-saving abilities could have helped her. The silver-armored corpse puppet should be unable to catch up with her had she not delayed and immediately run for her life, hence she should not be so miserable. However, I was unlucky. I ran into 2 bronze-armored corpse puppets while running away from the silver-armored corpse puppet. The 2 bronze-armored corpse puppets blocked my path and besieged me together with the silver-armored corpse puppet. I almost died but managed to escape with my life-saving technique, said Long Xianzi, who was grateful for the narrow escape. Jian Wushuang realized what had happened. There were many corpse puppets around in the cemetery, making it possible for Long Xianzi to encounter other corpse puppets while fleeing. Long Xianzi was a little unlucky. The 4 of us are waiting for the Devilish Wind King and Yixin. I don't know if they both managed to get rid of their corpse puppets, said Long Xianzi. Jian Wushuang sighed. It was true that Long Xianzi was unlucky, but she was not the one with the worst luck. Devilish Wind King and Yixin had it worse. The 2 only primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods were each targeted by a silver-armored corpse puppet and the scariest gold-armored corpse puppet. The silver-armored corpse puppet might be easier to handle, but the gold-armored corpse puppet, even Saber Master would want to run away from it. It all depends on their fate. Let's hope they come back safely, said Jian Wushuang. The 4 of them stood waiting quietly. A figure slowly drifted over in the void after nearly half an hour. Oh, the Devilish Wind King? Jian Wushuang and the others were surprised to see who had arrived. I finally see the 4 of you again. Devilish Wind King was equally miserable, as though he had just gone through a disaster. His divine power breath was extremely weak, and he struggled to squeeze a smile when he saw his 4 teammates. Devilish Wind King, you managed to escape from the gold-armored corpse puppet? Grand Ultimate God Hongqin glanced at Devilish Wind King in surprise. Only after I used my ultimate life-saving method. The Devilish Wind King smiled bitterly. Grand Ultimate God Hongqin nodded. The Devilish Wind King was very famous in the Danyang continent for being extremely difficult to subdue. It was due to his powerful life-saving abilities to a large extent, hence it would take an arduous effort to kill the Devilish Wind King. Where is Yixin? Jian Wushuang asked. Saber Master replied, I've already sent him a message, but he hasn't responded. We probably don't have to wait anymore, as he could have died, said Devilish Wind King. Died. Jian Wushuang's pupils shrunk. I received a message from Yixin telling me that he was on his way to escape but ended up encountering another silver-armored corpse puppet blocking his path. He was then besieged by 2 silver-armored corpse puppets at the same time with no chance of escaping, said Devilish Wind King. Jian Wushuang and the others fell silent after hearing the bad news. Although Yixin was rather powerful, he was only a primary-level Grand Ultimate God. It was extremely challenging to be confronted by a silver-armored corpse puppet, but to face 2 silver-armored corpse puppets at the same time only meant he had no chance of escaping. In addition, there was no information on Yixin's whereabouts, which only meant he had failed to survive. Yishin was the first to die among the 6 experts who entered the secret realm. However, Jianghu Shuang was rather perplexed after learning the news of Yishin's death. Yishin could not survive because he was targeted by a silver-armored corpse puppet. However, the Devilish Wind King, who's slightly weaker than Yishin, had survived the attack from a gold-armored corpse puppet? Jianghu Shuang murmured. He knew the Devilish Wind King had powerful life-saving abilities, hence the Devilish Wind King might seem to be much stronger than Yishin in that aspect. However, Jianghu Shuang was still curious but would try to find out the answer later. Long Xinzi and Devilish Wind King, you both are seriously injured. This cemetery is way too dangerous with corpse poisons lurking all over the place, and it's getting more and more powerful. There isn't a place for you both to recover from your injuries at the moment, so shall we carry on with the journey? Saber Master looked at them. We should be alright if we don't bump into another gold-armored corpse puppet, replied Long Xinzi. The Devilish Wind King agreed. Let's go. The 5 people immediately carried on with their journey after reaching a consensus. The cemetery was huge. They had traveled for several hours but still had not passed through the cemetery. One of them had died while the other 2 were severely injured, but they were only halfway through the cemetery. They were being extra cautious. However, they were quite lucky after that, as they indeed encountered 3 other corpse puppets, but none could threaten them. They had not bumped into another gold-armored corpse puppet, nor did they encounter any difficult hindrances along the way. The 5 finally passed the cemetery 2 hours later. Phew, it's over. Finally, we passed the cemetery. After reaching the end of the cemetery, they noticed the corpse poison around them had slowly dissipated with no more densely packed stone coffins in front of them. The 5 of them then rejoiced. We should be safe out here away from the cemetery. Let's stay here for a while to recover our divine power. Long Xinzi and Devilish Wind King, both of you are seriously injured, so hurry up and recuperate, suggested Saber Master. All right. Long Xinzi immediately sat down with the Devilish Wind King and started recovering from their injuries. Jianghu Shuang, Saber Master, and Hong Chen also began to restore their divine power. Their divine body was constantly enduring the corpse poison's erosion, and a great deal of their divine power was consumed for that purpose. Jianghu Shuang was the exception, of course, but he still pretended to recover his divine power nonetheless. Chapter 2730, The Power of Consciousness. Half a month passed in a flash. Long Xinzi and Devilish Wind King had recovered from their injuries within that half a month. Let's go, said Saber Master as the group of 5 carried on their journey. They went through a day without extraordinary incidences. Finally, the 5 of them arrived at the center of the ancient castle, the castle's core. They faced yet another cemetery. The difference being the cemetery was much smaller than the one they previously had been, as there were not as many stone coffins in the cemetery. However, the edifice transparent stone coffins suspended in that cemetery stood tall, with each being more than 10 feet long. Jianghu Shuang and the others could see through the stone coffins and observe the figures lying within from the cemetery's edge. All of them had their eyes on one particular stone coffin before them. A woman lying peacefully in the stone coffin. The more than 2 yards tall woman looked tall and slender in her white robe. Although she was laid to rest with her eyes closed, her ethereal appearance gave away a somewhat holy feeling. She looked like a saint. This woman, Jianghu Shuang and the others were awestruck from looking at the white-robed woman. She had obviously passed on for many years, but her corpse still could gain the respect from those few grand ultimate gods. She must at least be an undying saint, and I'm guessing she must be some extremely powerful undying saint, commented Devilish Wind King. Will she be awakened from her stone coffin just like those corpse puppets we saw earlier? Long Xinzi asked nervously. Jianghu Shuang and the rest felt their hearts skip a beat. In the previous cemetery, the stone coffins had corpse puppets that were extremely difficult to deal with, especially gold-armored corpse puppets. The group of 5 could do nothing but flee frantically when those terrifying corpse puppets appeared. The woman before had crossed the boundaries of an ultimate god. None of the 5 would survive if she was also reanimated as a corpse puppet and stepped out of her stone coffin. I don't think she's a corpse puppet, as there isn't any corpse poison in this cemetery. In addition, she doesn't look like a corpse puppet, said Saber Master. The rest nodded and expressed their agreement. All 5 of them then unleashed their soul power while trying to find out more about the stone coffins, if there were opportunities or treasures left behind. However, just when their soul power was about to touch the first stone coffin, "Get out of here!" they suddenly heard someone bellowing. The voice rang in their ears along with an oppressive force none of them could resist. Jianghu Shuang, Hong Chen, Long Xinzi, Devilish Wind King, and the most powerful of them all, Saber Master, instantly turned pale. They shuddered. This Devilish Wind King widened his eyes. It's the power of consciousness. Oh gosh, she had passed on for so many years, yet her power of consciousness remains terrifyingly strong? Jianghu Shuang and the others were taken aback. The power of consciousness. Any powerful cultivators would possess their very own power of consciousness. Likewise, ultimate gods such as Jianghu Shuang and the others. The power of consciousness grew in correlation with one's cultivation realm and strength. It represented a person's will. However, even if an actual living undying saint stood before them and displayed his power of consciousness, all 5 of them would still not be so fearful. Therefore, they were utterly surprised the woman who had been dead for so long could exhibit such a tyrannical power of consciousness. Her strength was simply unfathomable. Let's try some other stone coffins, suggested Saber Master. The 5 of them began looking for their next target. Although the cemetery was not as huge as the one before, there were dozens of stone coffins with figures lying in them. The group of 5 tried sending their soul power to the other stone coffins, and the same thing happened. Every expert in those stone coffins had been dead for many years, but each of them maintained a very strong power of consciousness. Not a single one of them was weaker than the holy woman they first saw. The group of 5 was astounded by every power of consciousness they came in contact with. Every stone coffin contains such terrifying power of consciousness. We won't be able to get them even if there are treasures and opportunities left behind by these experts, because we can't even get close. Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen complained. Jianghu Shuang and the rest were awestruck. They were aiming for those various treasures and opportunities when they decided to visit the secret realm. They went through various obstacles to arrive at the cemetery and saw the corpses in the stone coffins with their collected treasures during the deceased cultivator's lifetime. It was definitely a great opportunity for the 5 of them to get their hands on those treasures, but they were disappointed in the end because of the power of consciousness. Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen was right to say that they were not qualified to get near those stone coffins with the existence of such a strong power of consciousness. They might have to reach the undying saint realm to withstand the power of consciousness. We can only look at those great opportunities in front of us. Saber Master looked dejected. Jianghu Shuang, Hong Chen, Devilish Wind King, and Long Xinzi felt the same. Suddenly, a strange light condensed in front of them. The grayish ray of light gradually took the form of a human figure. The gray-robed old man looked extremely simple and amiable. His hair was quite messy and with no breath of aura present. He might have been unnoticeable had the group of 5 closed their eyes. The gray-robed old man appeared before the 5 of them. Jianghu Shuang, Saber Master, Hong Chen, Devilish Wind King, and Long Xinzi were looking at the gray-robed old man. The 5 of them had a solemn look. Chapter 2731. The Secret Realm Spirit. The gray-robed old man stood in front of Jianghu Shuang and the others, but they felt that the old man was intangible, as though he had blended into the void around him like he was one with the secret realm. The old man indifferently swept his gaze across at the group of 5, stopping at each of them to take a good look. He slowly said after a long time, "Kids, welcome to my master's secret realm. I'm the steward. You can call me Old Gu or Master Gu. Did you say that this is your master's secret realm? Are you the secret realm spirit?" Saber Master narrowed his eyes and stared at the gray-robed old man called Old Gu. "Yes." Old Gu nodded and admitted. Jianghu Shuang and the others gave their countenance. It must have cost a lot to set up the secret realm. The person who set up the secret realm was unmistakably a pinnacle expert in ancient god domain. The secret realm spirit was most probably bestowed by the expert and probably had its consciousness, which allowed the spirit to control the secret realm. The old man was the secret realm spirit. "My master has created this secret realm for a long time with none who has been able to reach here until now. You have good luck as grand ultimate gods." Old Gu smiled faintly. "Come with me." Old Gu turned around and headed toward the end of the cemetery. Jianghu Shuang and the others looked at each other before immediately going after the old man. "Old Gu, these experts in the coffins must have been extraordinary during their lifetime?" Jianghu Shuang curiously asked. "These experts?" Old Gu smiled. "Yes, they were very good, with all of them being rather extraordinary, which was the reason their bodies can stay here." Old Gu began explaining about the secret realm. "My master is someone extraordinary. As for his name and cultivation realm, all of you don't have the right to know. My master is fond of collecting experts' corpses during his lifetime, especially those experts whom he killed. This cemetery you're in now has dozens of experts' corpses who were my master's prized possessions, with all of them killed by my master. They must possess remarkable strength during their lifetime to be killed and kept in this cemetery by my master. Hence they were at least an undying saint and exceptionally outstanding among their peers. Jianghu Shuang and the others in the group were impressed. Only the best among the best undying saint or above corpses could stay in the cemetery. Just like this woman, Old Gu pointed to the saint-like woman next to him. It was the woman Jianghu Shuang and the others first saw. She is called White Lotus Saint, an undying saint who was invincible even amongst experts in third heaven with her strength at the peak undying saint. She was once besieged by 10 remarkable undying saints who tried to kill her but were single-handedly killed by her instead. Her strength had reached the very pinnacle of what an undying saint could achieve. She was indeed powerful but unfortunately too proud and complacent. My master met her and intended to take her as a concubine, but she did not cherish her great opportunity and blatantly rejected my master. My master was furious and killed her on the spot with a single finger movement, said Old Gu. He sounded so casual as though it was the most natural matter. However, his words sounded completely different in Jianghu Shuang and his group's ears. An invincible undying saint capable of defeating 10 powerful undying saints single-handedly was killed just because she refused to be the concubine of Old Gu's master? Old Gu's master was rather overbearing, was he not? In addition to being overbearing, his action reflected his brute strength and capabilities. How powerful was the master capable of killing an undying saint with a finger? This person here is Lord Gold's now. He was stronger and more famous than White Lotus Saint. Old Gu pointed to a middle-aged man in snow-white armor laying in a stone coffin next to him. Lord Gold's now was one of the most phenomenal undying saints who came from a remarkable background. He was from the 8 heavenly sect whose master was indomitable in the ancient god domain. Unfortunately, he was too ostentatious and arrogant. He disdained my master and thought my master wouldn't dare to kill him. As a result, my master killed him right in front of his master. His master was furious and wanted to avenge him, but my master's excellent life-saving methods allowed him to easily escape. Lord Goldsnow's master and the entire 8 heavenly sect could do nothing to my master. Old Gu looked proud as he narrated the event. Saber Master, Hong Qin, Long Xianzi, and Devilish Wind King might not know much about the 8 heavenly sect which Old Gu mentioned, but Jianghu Shuang knew a great deal about the sect. The 7 Stars Black Sect was the paramount sect in ancient god domain. However, the 7 Stars Black Sect had been destroyed, with the next in line being 3 great sacred realms, 4 God Tribe, and 8 Heavenly Sect. Those were the recognized top forces in ancient god domain. Those forces were overlords who held great prestige in the ancient god domain's core and were incomparable to those sects and forces in Danyang Holy Domain or the 9 realms of Golden Crow. One could simply imagine the strength of the 8 Heavenly Sect for being able to be one of the ancient god domain's great overlords. The 8 Heavenly Sect could not avenge Lord Gold's now despite being so. It just shed light on how powerful Old Gu's master was. This person. Old Gu was introducing other experts in the remaining stone coffins to Jianghu Shuang and his group along the way. There was no doubt those experts were remarkable figures in ancient god domain, with any one of them enough to frighten the group of 5. Unfortunately, they became corpses laid in the cold stone coffins. My master had killed countless experts, but those qualified to be remembered and placed in this secret cemetery are these. Although there are only a few dozen of them here, they were truly powerful and not someone an ordinary undying saint can compete with. The most famous undying saint my master encountered was Sword Lord Tong Xin when my master first arrived at this territory. He was a rather powerful undying saint but unfortunately didn't qualify to be kept here. Chapter 2732. One more opportunity. Old Gu was chattering away casually while Jianghu Shuang and the other 4 were stunned to hear his stories. Old Gu was telling the group how powerful those experts around them were, but they were unable to fathom that knowledge since they could not imagine those experts' strength level. The group finally grasped the idea of how powerful those deceased experts were when Sword Lord Tong Xin was mentioned. Everyone in the group of 5 had heard of Sword Lord Tong Xin. He was an unrivaled undying saint. Especially Jianghu Shuang, he knew a little more about Sword Lord Tong Xin compared to the others since Jianghu Shuang owned the first 4 stages of the Transmigration Sword formation. It was not an exaggeration to claim that Sword Lord Tong Xin was the most powerful undying saint born in the territories of 9 realms of Golden Crow in millions of years. However, such an existence was looked down upon by Old Gu. Sword Lord Tong Xin did not even have the qualifications to be placed in the cemetery. In other words, any of those dozens of experts in the cemetery were much stronger than Sword Lord Tong Xin. However, they were killed easily by Old Gu's master. Old Gu's master must surpass the undying saint realm, muttered Jianghu Shuang. The group of people soon reached the front of the cemetery and saw two stone coffins that were obviously taller and more unique than the rest. Those two stone coffins were more than 30 feet long. Not only were they larger in size, but also came with a lot of restrictions around them. There were also two cold corpses laid to rest in the two stone coffins, but they were unable to see the corpse's appearance because of the restrictions in place. Old Gu, did your master kill these two experts as well? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, both of them were killed by my master. They were much stronger than the ones you just saw as they are both law lords. Old Gu smiled. Law lords? Jian Wushuang was surprised to hear that. Saber Master was also shocked. They might not have heard of law lords, but they figured that law lords must have been above undying saints. They had no idea how powerful a law lord was, but they figured that law lord must be much more powerful than an undying saint. Old Gus Master not only had killed those invincible undying saints but also killed two law lords. The Master's cultivation realm was obviously at the law lord realm at least, and possibly a top-rated law lord. Old Gu leaped forward and a towering throne soon appeared out of thin air. He sat on the throne while looking down at Jian Wushuang and the others with interest. Now, the five of you must come to this secret realm for the many opportunities and treasures left by my master, right? Old Gu smiled. Yes. The group of five did not deny the fact. Haha, my master did leave behind many opportunities when my master created this secret realm, such that even his greatest inheritance is here. However, my master's realm is too high and you are merely at the grand ultimate god realm. Let's not talk about my master's inheritance. You're not even qualified to go through the tests left behind by my master. It's out of pure luck that you can get up till here, said Old Gu. Jian Wushuang and the rest turned slightly pale. Don't be upset. What my master left behind isn't something minor grand ultimate gods like you can handle, those trials included. You must at least be an undying saint to undergo the trials, and even then only extremely powerful undying saints that meet my master's requirement can go through a level or two. However, none of you are qualified to do so. If I wasn't bored and deliberately made it easy for all of you, you won't even be able to get through those several places of crisis set up along the way. You won't even be able to make it up to here, added Old Gu. Jian Wushuang was startled. He finally understood all the dangers they encountered along the way were controlled by Old Gu. Every type of danger they encountered was in Old Gu's palm. In the first cemetery, Old Gu was the one who decides whether they would encounter any corpse puppets, including the type of corpse puppets. As for the two interspatial rings they got at the beginning, Old Gu must have deliberately placed them there. Old Gu continued after a short pause. In fact, there are many opportunities my master left behind in this secret realm. For example, this cemetery you're in now has dozens of experts in the coffins. Apart from the experts that my master particularly valued, the treasures that used to belong to these experts are kept in place. You can get them if you're capable, but unfortunately, none of you are powerful enough to get close to the coffins. Jian Wushuang and the others exchanged embarrassed looks with each other as they agreed with Old Gu. They had indeed failed to reach out for the great opportunities laid before them. Don't be disheartened. Each of you has previously gotten an opportunity. As for now, he'll give you one more opportunity because of the difficulties you went through to get here, said Old Gu casually. Jian Wushuang and the rest had their eyes lit up all of a sudden. Old Gu smiled and flipped his hand as an interspatial ring appeared in his hand. Old Gu asked, "Can you see this? The items in this interspatial ring will be the last you can get from this secret realm. They were nothing to my master, but are definitely considered great treasures to grand ultimate gods such as you and even ordinary undying saints." Now, Old Gu cracked a strange smile before he slid one hand across the air and a spatial passage appeared out of thin air before Old Gu threw the interspatial ring into it. I've thrown the interspatial ring into the other end of the spatial passage somewhere in a vast dark void. The five of you can enter this spatial passage and start searching in the dark void. They'll give you 3 hours. Whoever finds the interspatial ring and brings it out within 3 hours shall be the new owner of the interspatial ring. However, don't blame me if you fail to locate the interspatial ring within 3 hours. Old Gu smiled indifferently as the spatial passage grew bigger under his control. Now go on. Chapter 2733, The Search. The five exchanged looks at the enlarging spatial passage before skimming into the spatial passage. The corner of Old Gus' mouth curled up, revealing a playful smile after the five entered the spatial passage. It's been a long time since I saw a cultivator and finally you came. I hope you'll let me have some fun. The other end of the spatial passage was indeed a vast expanse of darkness. Jian Wushuang and the rest emerged one after another from the spatial passage that remained in place. I guess this void must be huge. Otherwise, Master Gu won't have given us 3 hours, said Saber Master. Master Gu is the spirit of this secret realm and has full control over it. He seems to have casually thrown the interspatial ring, but the ring was thrown quite far away. It could be somewhere deep in the darkness and emptiness, either in the center or the end of this dark void, said Grand Ultimate God Hongqian. We only have 3 hours, so we can't delay too much. All 5 of us better spread out and look for it. Whoever is lucky will get it, said Devilish Wind King. Yes, agreed Long Xinzi. I agree too. Jian Wushuang also nodded. Would better get going if that's the case. Saber Master suggested, and the 5 of them immediately went off in different directions and began their search alone in the dark void. The 5 of them firmly believed the interspatial ring was in the dark void, as not only did they see old Gu throw the interspatial ring into the dark void with their own eyes, but also felt that old Gu would not deceive them. Even if old Gu wanted to fool or make fun of them, he had to throw some bait. The interspatial ring was the bait, and the treasures within must be something highly sought after. Jian Wushuang was extremely fast in the boundless dark void while his soul power was at work sweeping and scanning his surroundings. Fortunately, this dark void has no restrictions on soul power and I can still use it to investigate my surroundings, mumbled Jian Wushuang. As a perfect chaotic creature, he had the most perfect soul power despite being only a high-level heaven ultimate god. His soul power was extremely powerful and had a wide coverage area. It was even considered stronger when compared to those other grand ultimate gods who went along with him into the dark void. With his powerful and wide sensing ability on top of his astonishing speed, it seemed very advantageous for him to locate the interspatial ring. He kept walking toward the depths of the dark void but was disappointed to have no sight of the interspatial ring after searching for more than an hour and scanning almost the entire dark void. He had no choice but to return to the starting point and pick another route. Jian Wushuang met Devilish Wind King along the way. Alliance Master Su Han. Devilish Wind King came right next to Jian Wushuang. Have you found it? No. Jian Wushuang shook his head. I've gotten right to the end of this void, yet still haven't found it. I guess it's normal as this dark void is huge after all. Have you found it? Of course not. Devilish Wind King shrugged. Neither you nor I found it. I wonder if the other 3 luck out, said Jian Wushuang. Humph. I'm afraid they'll pretend not to have found it even if they did. I guess no one will be willing to split the treasures in the interspatial ring with the rest. Devilish Wind King coldly snorted. Jian Wushuang understood. People were selfish in such circumstances and he was no exception. He would also deny that he found it if he happened to chance across the interspatial ring when the 5 of them gathered. Alliance Master Su Han, why do you think old Gu chucked the interspatial ring in here and told the 5 of us to look for it? Devilish Wind King squinted his eyes skeptically. Jian Wushuang shook his head. I don't know, but it's not that simple. Of course it's not simple. He could have just given it to us directly if he wanted to give us an opportunity instead of having us searching for it based on our luck. I think he wants us to fight against each other to test our abilities, said Devilish Wind King. That could be the case. Jian Wushuang did not deny it. Alliance Master Su Han, you and I are the only 2 primary level grand ultimate gods after Yixin's death in the first cemetery. Both of us are at an absolute disadvantage, so we should really gang up if anything happens. Saber Master, Hongqian or Long Xinzi, either one of them could easily crush us, said Devilish Wind King solemnly. I know, don't worry. The 2 of us will be on the same side if something happens, said Jian Wushuang reassuringly. Devilish Wind King smiled. That will do. Okay, there's still some time, so let's go and find it, said Devilish Wind King before he left. Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed as he watched Devilish Wind King leave. From the very beginning, Devilish Wind King has been really good to me and told me many things in this secret realm. He had also given me a corpse poison pill that he prepared and also repeatedly told me that we should join forces, but I've always felt something is wrong with him, murmured Jian Wushuang. He could not pinpoint the fault in Devilish Wind King at that moment. Jian Wushuang had instinctively thought that Devilish Wind King was behaving strangely. The primary level grand ultimate god Devilish Wind King was the weakest among the 6 adventurers. However, he had miraculously survived being chased by a gold-armored corpse puppet. Jian Wushuang thought it was weird. All these people who came to the secret realm seem cooperative, but all of them have their agendas. Each of them wants to get the most out of this trip, so I can't be foolish and believe any of them, especially Devilish Wind King. Jian Wushuang smiled before continuing his search in the dark void. Jian Wushuang did not find the interspatial ring even after searching around for a long time, so he had no choice but to return to the spatial passage's location. 3 hours were almost up and the other 4 had also returned to the starting point one after another. Devilish Wind King was the last to return. Devilish Wind King, have you found the interspatial ring? Saber Master looked over his shoulder. Devilish Wind King asked, No, how about you all? Saber Master, Hong Qin, Long Xianzi and Jian Wushuang shook their heads. None of them admitted to finding the interspatial ring. Chapter 2734. In Saber Master's hand, no one found it? Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen looked dejected. This dark void is really huge on top of the time given to us being too short. Although the 5 of us scattered around in search for the interspatial ring, we've probably only searched half of this area after 3 hours with the other half remaining unchecked. It's normal if we don't find it, but it's a pity. Saber Master looked a little disappointed. Unfortunately, Old Gu has given us a chance, but we didn't get anything. Long Xianzi also shook her head. Time's up. Let's go out, said Saber Master. He immediately skimmed toward the spatial passage that stayed open nearby. Hong Qin and Long Xianzi looked at each other as both of them were ready to go after Saber Master. However, Jian Wushuang and the Devilish Wind King did not move. Alliance Master Su Han and Devilish Wind King, both of you aren't going? Saber Master looked puzzled. Jian Wushuang did not answer but only stared at Saber Master with a strange luster in his eyes. Devilish Wind King squinted his eyes slightly and commented in a low voice, Saber Master, Old Gus interspatial ring should be in your hands, am I right? What? Saber Master was surprised as he stopped dead in his tracks. Hong Qin and Long Xianzi also stopped and looked over their shoulders in surprise. Devilish Wind King, what do you mean that I have the interspatial ring? Saber Master's gaze was a little cold. It's very simple, I'm just speculating. Devilish Wind King smiled indifferently. Although we aren't close before and I don't know much about you, but I know one matter for sure. You're extremely powerful and ambitious. Otherwise, you wouldn't have become one of the faction's leaders in Crimson Stone Fort. It's possible that none of us found the interspatial ring today. However, it's also likely that one of us found it but refused to admit it. I won't be so easygoing if I were you in such circumstances. I would have questioned everyone here one by one and possibly even kill the other 4 people. Kill the 4 of us and then check whether we have the interspatial ring so you will be certain if we have Old Gus interspatial ring. It's the safest way. Even if you are worried about failing to kill the 4 of us, you'd also think of other ways such as stirring up suspicion against each other so that we start fighting internally, but now, you trust us too much as though you believed we didn't get the interspatial ring. You didn't have any doubts and neither did you try to find out more from us as you just wanted to leave here as quickly as possible. It's entirely normal if this happens to the 4 of us because we aren't as powerful as you with nothing much we can do even if we have our doubts, but this doesn't seem right for someone of your stature. At the very least, I won't have let the rest leave here so easily if I were you. Hong Qin and Long Xianzi's expression changed after hearing Devilish Wind King's lengthy explanation. Previously, it had not crossed their mind but they agreed with Devilish Wind King's words. Saber Master was behaving oddly. It might not be true when the 5 of them claimed to have not located the interspatial ring. What if one of them was lying? Not only did Saber Master not doubt anyone, but also wanted them to leave quickly. Something smells fishy. In conclusion, there's only one possibility, which is you must have found Old Gus' interspatial ring and kept it. That's why you didn't care about the 4 of us and didn't even think about forcing us to tell the truth as it was unnecessary, was it not? Saber Master, I wonder if my deduction is correct? Devilish Wind King looked at Saber Master with a sly smile. Jian Wushuang's expression was also very strange. He did not leave immediately because he saw right through Saber Master as well. He and Devilish Wind King shared the same doubts. Hong Qin and Long Xianzi both gave a side glance to Saber Master as soon as Devilish Wind King finished talking. Saber Master, is it true? Hong Qin was staring at Saber Master. Saber Master denied, nonsense. I didn't persecute or attack any of you because we have gone through thick and thin in this secret realm together. Why are all of you suspecting me now? Haha, Saber Master, is that really the truth? Although we came to this secret realm together, we're here only for our interests. Everyone knows quite well the length our friendship extends to, or rather the lack of it. Even if we do, no one will be able to withstand the temptations, right? Devilish Wind King sneered. Hong Qin, Long Xianzi, and Jian Wushuang had cold expressions on their faces. Saber Master, is Old Gus' interspatial ring really in your hands? Long Xianzi was staring at Saber Master. No, said Saber Master coldly. No one will believe that. Let's do it this way, you should take out your interspatial ring and let all of us skim through it. Well, apologize to you if old Gus' ring is truly not there. How about that? Grand Ultimate God Hong Qin suggested. Saber Master smirked. What a joke. I said I didn't have it and that's it. Who do you think you are to make me put my interspatial ring up for investigation? Are all of you undying saints? Even if you're undying saints, there's no way I'll obediently hand over my interspatial ring for an inspection. 1. Don't blame the four of us if this is the case. Grand Ultimate God Hong Qin sounded gloomy before he immediately looked at the three people beside him. Long Xinzi, Su Han, and Devilish Wind King, what do the three of you think? We can only try some harsher methods since Saber Master chose not to cooperate, said Long Xinzi with her green spear already out. Jianghu Shuang and Devilish Wind King were staring down at Saber Master. The four people did not communicate too much but had nonetheless reached a consensus. They were almost certain that old Gus' interspatial ring was with Saber Master and extremely eager for the opportunities contained therein. Therefore, the other four members had decided to gang up and force Saber Master into handing the interspatial ring over. Chapter 2735. Oppression, the four of you want to fight me? Saber Master's cold gaze swept across Jianghu Shuang and the other three Grand Ultimate Gods as a terrifying breath of aura started brewing in his body. It felt like he was far more powerful than the average high-level Grand Ultimate God, such that both Hong Qin and Long Xinzi felt inferior. Jianghu Shuang and the other three were in a standoff against Saber Master. Even though it was 4 against 1, the four of them were aware of Saber Master's much stronger strength when compared to the average high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. In that case, the four of them might have a slim chance of winning against Saber Master by teaming up. Be careful and don't be careless, Grand Ultimate God Hong Qin reminded the other three. Of course, look what I've received. Long Xianz's eyes narrowed before flipped her hand to reveal a bronze mirror. The bronze mirror started to be filled with a faint golden mist in which Long Xinzi then pointed her finger. Buzz. The bronze mirror was emitting fulgurant golden lights. Each stream of the golden lights was extremely dazzling and bright. The countless light streams then started to come together densely at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, those golden light rays filled the surrounding void and superimposed each other to instantly form a golden light domain. Domain oppression. Long Xinzi announced in a thunderous voice as the golden light domain unleashed a powerful force against Saber Master. Saber Master quivered slightly with a strange luster flashed in his eyes. A domain treasure? Judging from its power, this must be a pinnacle heavenly treasure. Long Xinzi, you've got a great gift from this secret realm. Long Xinzi merely smiled faintly. Ordinary heavenly treasures served no purpose to Heaven Ultimate God or Grand Ultimate God cultivators. Even a high-level heavenly treasure was nothing in the eyes of Grand Ultimate Gods. On the other hand, pinnacle heavenly treasures were rather precious. An offensive divine weapon pinnacle heavenly treasure would attract the attention of ordinary Grand Ultimate Gods, whereas a defensive armor pinnacle heavenly treasure was coveted by many Grand Ultimate Gods. Long Xinzi had taken out a very special domain treasure pinnacle heavenly treasure. A domain treasure was much more precious than a defensive armor. Long Xianz's bronze mirror's value was extraordinary. It was impossible for a high-level Grand Ultimate God such as herself to possess such a valuable treasure under normal circumstances. She was likely to have gotten that treasure from the secret realm. Each of them received an interspatial ring when they first arrived at the ancient castle in which it came with previous treasures. For instance, Jianghu Shuang had gotten 5 Huangji golden pill. The four of them except Jianghu Shuang were at the secret realm 50 years ago and had also received an interspatial ring each. In other words, Long Xinzi had at least 2 treasures, with the bronze mirror being one of them. The treasure is good, but your divine power is mediocre. The domain oppression won't have much effect on me. Saber Master's voice was cold. His breath of aura had weakened, but not by a lot despite under the golden light domain's oppression. His breath of aura was still rather strong nonetheless. Jianghu Shuang took a step forward. Long Xinzi, let me help you. A majestic golden divine power surged behind Jianghu Shuang while Jianghu Shuang spoke. In the blink of an eye, a 10,000-foot tall golden emperor was formed behind him. The golden emperor wore golden armor that looked intimidating as though it ruled over everything beneath him. Jianghu Shuang then pointed his finger. Whoosh! The golden divine power sea hit with strong propelling force. Although the golden divine power sea came like a tidal wave, it did not hit the golden light domain but instead overlapped with the golden light domain under Jianghu Shuang's careful control and instantly conjured a huge golden prison within heaven and earth, with the golden lights enshrouded the golden prison. Golden light domain and prison of punishment, the double domain oppression had superimposed. Jian Wushuang's divine god of punishment had reached a height of 10,000 feet. It was the technique's third level. The prison of punishment was being displayed once again, with its power being much stronger than before as it came with even more impressive domain oppression. Saber Master's face sank under the pressure of the double domain oppression that was building up over his body, that in turn increased the oppression acting on him. A domain secret technique? Ah, not bad. Is there any more? Saber Master jeered. There is, of course. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently before his sword intent rose to the heavens as he displayed his 100,000-mile sword world. Principal world? Saber Master smiled contemptuously as he too discharged Saber intent and formed a terrifying principal world. The two principal worlds collided. It was only a matter of seconds when, swoosh, the principal world conjured by Saber Master was completely crushed, shrunk, and eventually collapsed. Saber Master was horrified. What? Both of us performed a complete principal world. In addition, I achieved my complete principal world much earlier than him, so my principal world should be more stable. Why did it crash when mine collided with his? How incredible is his principal world? Saber Master had no idea that Jian Wushuang's principal world was at 100,000 miles. Jian Wushuang was the only person who could perform that level of strength. The horrifying principal world could suppress much higher-leveled opponents. For example, Jian Wushuang's principal world could already suppress profound sword worlds while still at the merit level. Jian Wushuang and Saber Master both had complete principal world and stood at similar levels. However, he could easily defeat Saber Master's principal world when Jian Wushuang displayed a small portion of his power. After Saber Master's principal world had collapsed, Jian Wushuang's sword world started oppressing Saber Master. It was equivalent to Saber Master being triple oppressed at the moment. The triple oppression power was extremely powerful, such that Saber Master showed a twisted expression as he struggled to ward off the oppression. Saber Master was powerful indeed. However, his strength was weakened to a very low level under the triple oppression. Of course, Jian Wushuang had conserved his power as he was capable of performing a fourth suppression, which was the extremely powerful star armor domain of the 9 sparkle star armor, but he did nothing as such. Hong Qin and Devilish Wind King, who were in the void, had noticed the tremendous oppression Saber Master had been subjected to and were overjoyed. Alliance Master Su Han, good work. Long Xianzi glanced at Jian Wushuang. It's great. Grand Ultimate God, Hong Qin added. Saber Master can only probably exert less than 70% of his usual powers. You guys can go ahead. Jian Wushuang smiled. Chapter 2736. A Fierce Battle. Boom. Boom. Hong Qin and Long Xianzi directly took action. The Grand Ultimate God Hong Qin had an extremely wild aura, and the moment his aura came storming outward, his figure also grew 3 meters tall. He became extremely strong and burly like a small mountain, and even had on completely black armor that looked like beast scales. The armor looked extremely cold as it covered his entire body, while his burly body came hitting Saber Master ferociously. An illusory shadow of an extremely huge beast that looked imposing and ferocious also appeared behind him. Long Xianzi controlled the golden light domain and also came attacking speedily. She appeared beside Saber Master like a ghost as a wave of terrifying aura coagulated on the green spear in her hands, as though it was prepared to carry out a fatal attack. On the other hand, Jian Wushuang and Devilish Wind King were only primary level Grand Ultimate Gods on the surface, so they could not rush forward and fight face to face with Saber Master. Hence they searched for an opportunity from the side. For example, Jian Wushuang had 9 of his infernal crimson divine swords floating there, with all of them combined to form a huge black divine sword. Attack. Grand Ultimate God Hong Qin's ruthlessness exploded and was the first to appear beside Saber Master as his mountain-like figure went knocking into the ladder. Humph. The Saber Master humphed coldly as his combat power was still extremely strong, even though he was being suppressed by 3 parties with his output only at less than 70%. He could be seen suddenly striding forward as he waved the purple battle saber in his hands outward. An overpowering saber light went sweeping forward with burning purple flames and looked like it intended to burn the entire void down. Boom. The humongous purple fire sea slightly shook after Grand Ultimate God Hong Qin knocked into it. However, the burning temperature in the sea of fire also caused Grand Ultimate God Hong Qin's facial expression to slightly change as his body came to a direct pause. Whoosh. A rotating spear shadow with incomparable strength and power came stabbing towards Saber Master's head like a dragon coming forth from its lair. The Saber Master was aware earlier of what was going on. His body slightly trembled before unleashing an attack with his saber, which directly sent the spear shadow flying outward and Long Xianzi stumbling backward. What a strong wave of power. He still has such an overpowering force even though he's being suppressed by 3 forces? Long Xianzi was completely stunned. However, a black divine sword came rushing towards him like a mountain drill the moment Saber Master fought off Long Xianzi. The black divine sword not only carried the power of transmigration law but also emitted a strong aura of destruction. The first sword formation of the transmigration sword formation, Heaven's Edge. How dare a firefly to contend with the sun or moon's brightness? The Saber Master smiled in disdain as he did not even pull his saber when facing the sword formation. He only slightly moved his body before a huge wave of divine power coagulated into a huge fiery beast in the void ahead of him. The fiery beast managed to send the black divine sword flying with only a forward pounce. Great! Jian Wushuang spoke with uncontrollable admiration, but a smile soon appeared at the corners of his mouth. Let's try this then. Jian Wushuang's divine power exploded as the power of transmigration law had also been unleashed. The black divine sword that was sent flying backwards suddenly dismantled into 9 infernal crimson divine swords amid the void before quickly combining again. However, the swords did not turn into the black divine sword but became a black blunt object that looked like a huge piece of black-colored wood. The huge black wood was still in the shape of a sword. Boom! The huge black wood once again attacked Saber Master under Jian Wushuang's control. The huge black wood was much slower compared to the black divine sword but had even more terrifying power concealed within it. The second sword formation of the transmigration sword formation. All sank. The Saber Master's eyes froze when facing the huge black wood and chose to swing his saber at that moment. Bang! Purple flames filled the entire space as the terrifying saber shadow directly knocked into the huge black wood. A low collision sound could be heard as the huge black wood slightly trembled before it resumed its attacks. Oh? The Saber Master's facial expression darkened. It looks like I've underestimated you. You may have been lucky when you killed FOE as a peak heaven ultimate god, but you're really quite strong. At the very least, the power from this sword formation you're showing right now is already comparable to ordinary high-level grand ultimate gods. Unfortunately, all of you are still very far off if you want to get rid of me using such methods. The Saber Master's voice was so loud that the sky trembled. His body was soon covered in burning purple flames. At that moment, the dark void around them was completely engulfed in a sea of purple flames. The purple flames were pounding around madly, which caused a certain effect toward Jian Wushuang's prison of punishment and Long Xianzi's golden light domain. The Saber Master had also completely erupted. He swung the purple saber in his hands over and over again. Every wave was accompanied by raging fires and ferocious power. The power of his saber skill was still suffocatingly strong under the 3-party suppression. He had transformed into a king of flames and also a Saber Master. He and his saber alone could sweep and destroy everything in the heavens and earth. Jian Wushuang, Hong Qin, Long Xianzi, and Devilish Wind King, who had been looking for an opportunity to attack, did not have any advantage despite working together. On the contrary, they were being forced into a disadvantageous position. He's really powerful. He's truly one of the top 3 high-level grand ultimate gods in the Danyang continent. His current show of power is after being suppressed by 3 parties. We won't be his opponent even if the 4 of us work together if his power completely erupted without any suppression, said Long Xianzi in a low voice. Humph, so what if he's powerful? He has to die if he doesn't hand over the interspatial ring. Grand Ultimate God Hong Qin humphed coldly before moving his body and suddenly waved his hand the moment he collided with Saber Master. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. 4 cold figures suddenly appeared in the void beside them. Those 4 figures looked like humans but were cold and lifeless. Apart from that, they had a layer of bronze-colored light covering their body surface. These are corpse puppets? Jian Wushuang's facial expression changed. 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets. Long Xianzi and Devilish Wind King also looked at Grand Ultimate God Hong Qin in surprise. Grand Ultimate God Hong Qin, how did you obtain bronze-armored corpse puppets? Could it be? Long Xianzi's facial expression changed as she thought of a possibility. She obtained 2 interspatial rings from the secret realm respectively and got her hands on 2 special treasures. One of them was the bronze mirror that unleashed the golden light domain. Grand Ultimate God Hong Qin had also obtained 2 interspatial rings. He might have obtained several bronze-armored corpse puppets from those rings. Attack! 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets appeared in the void as Grand Ultimate God Hong Qin gave an order. In the blink of an eye, those 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets immediately attacked Saber Master. Chapter 2737, Holy treasure purple bell boom. 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 All 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets were extremely ferocious and completely obeyed Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen's order as they directly turned into 4 lightning bolts before appearing in front of Saber Master. The Saber Master smiled in disdain when he saw that. What can a mere 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets do to me? The Saber Master was extremely vigorous as he moved forward before taking his battle saber out of its sheath, which by then a sea of purple flames had completely covered the 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets. All of them had previously come across bronze-armored corpse puppets that only had the combat prowess of ordinary high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. Therefore, the Saber Master did not pay much attention to them even if there were 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets. He waved the battle saber in his hands in a powerful manner the moment the sea of purple flames covered the bronze-armored corpse puppets. Whoosh! The horrendous saber light tore through heaven and earth as it came cutting down with its terrifying power. Even the purple flame sea was broken by the saber light. However, he discovered all 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets had merged into one before the saber light managed to reach the 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets. The combined puppet punched forward and directly broke the saber light into pieces. What? The Saber Master was puzzled. Ah, Saber Master, do you really think I only got those 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets from this secret realm? In truth, not only did I obtain these 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets, but I've also got a simple corpse puppet formation. This formation allows for those 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets to combine and display combat prowess comparable or stronger than silver-armored corpse puppets. Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen laughed out loud and said. The Saber Master's facial expression slightly darkened as he initially did not pay much attention to these 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets moments ago. However, the 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets combination had brought him some pressure. Attack. Let's attack together and kill him. Hong Chen, Long Xianzi, and Devilish Wind King were filled with the intent to kill. Naturally, Jianghu Shuang also took action and manipulated his transmigration sword formation to carry out attacks. However, he held back some of his power in every attack and had been hiding his true strength the whole time even until that moment. The power he had shown was only of an ordinary high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. Not only the Saber Master, but Hong Chen and the others had also not suspected anything out of the ordinary when they witnessed that. The pressure placed on the Saber Master increased as the combination of those 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets through the use of a formation joined the battle. Hong Chen and Long Xianzi took the opportunity to take action, which caused a huge part of the Saber Master's strength to be suppressed. It was obvious the Saber Master could not endure their attacks under such circumstances and seemed as though he was going to lose. He won't be able to continue for much longer. Fight with greater strength and kill him. Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen looked extremely excited. Saber Master, we're willing to cease our attacks if you obediently hand over the interspatial ring. However, if you continue to act so stubbornly, you'll definitely die today. Long Xianzi also yelled out coldly. Humph, you must be joking. Although Saber Master was in a slightly embarrassed state, the look in his eyes was still extremely cold. Die. Long Xianzi no longer held back. The huge black wood formed from the 9 infernal crimson divine swords once again attacked Saber Master. Saber Master resisted with his full might but accidentally revealed a flaw that Long Xianzi happened to spot. Die. The green spear in Long Xianzi's hand directly pierced forward like a green rainbow with a strong whistling sound. The green spear pierced through the void and was about to hit Saber Master's head. At that moment, the sound of an ancient clock could suddenly be heard, and the purple halo covering the outer skin layer of Saber Master's body suddenly rose upward. The purple halo was a huge purple clock that completely covered Saber Master. Long Xianzi's green spear had stabbed onto that purple clock, which caused the clock to tremble slightly while giving out a crisp sound. The clock's sound was extremely ghostly, such that even Long Xianzi's soul was slightly affected as the sound spread. How's this possible? Long Xianzi was surprised. She found a great opportunity to take action with such difficulties and originally thought that even if her attack could not kill Saber Master, she would be able to injure him badly. Unfortunately, the purple clock engulfing Saber Master's body had completely blocked the attack. The purple clock has such strong defensive power. Hong Chen and Jianghu Shuang also looked seriously at the purple clock engulfing Saber Master's body. Humph? Do you think you're the only ones who have gotten precious items from the secret realm? Do you think I've received nothing? Saber Master had a cold smile even though he was being covered by the purple clock. I got this purple clock from the secret realm 50 years ago and was already extremely delighted because of it. However, the item I obtained from the secret realm this time is even stronger. Jianwu Shuang, Hong Qin, Long Xianzi, and Devilish Wind King squinted. They were able to recognize the purple clock was extremely strong and should be a precious pinnacle heavenly treasure. Its value was definitely not lower than Long Xianzi's bronze mirror. However, the Saber Master mentioned the precious item he obtained from the secret realm at that time was even more precious than the purple clock? What precious item could that be? The Saber Master swept past the group of four with a cold look in his eyes. He then flipped his hand as the purple battle saber in his hands disappeared. A crimson-colored battle saber that was covered in burning red flames replaced it. The battle saber's color was entirely crimson, such that when Jianwu Shuang and the rest took a look at it, they felt like they had seen a boundless sea of blood where everything was dyed in red. They could feel the mystical weapons in their hands tremble the moment the battle saber appeared in Saber Master's hand. This is, Hong Qin and Long Xianzi fixated their gaze on the crimson-colored battle saber. This battle saber is definitely not a heavenly treasure. An ordinary level heavenly treasure won't make us feel this way, not even one at the peak. Devilish Wind King even had a horrified look on his face. This isn't a heavenly treasure, it's so much stronger than one such that even my blood mountain sword trembled slightly. The battle saber should be a holy treasure. Jianwu Shuang coldly said. Holy treasure. Those two simple words had caused Hong Qin, Long Xianzi, and Devilish Wind King's facial expression to darken. The holy treasures were precious items that even undying saints paid high importance toward. The cultivation of any holy treasure was extremely difficult. Its value and power were outrageously strong. It was not something comparable with heavenly treasures. Many undying saints with ordinary strength still did not have a suitable mystical weapon of the holy treasure level, with many still only using pinnacle heavenly treasures. The power displayed by an undying saint that owned a holy treasure and one that used heavenly treasures was vastly different under circumstances where both had similar personal strength. It was the reason a holy treasure would be so highly valued by others. However, the Saber Master actually owned a holy treasure that many powerful undying saint did not have at that moment. Chapter 2738, Swept Away Holy Treasure. A holy treasure in the hands of an undying saint was rumored to be capable of releasing earth-shattering power. Even though Saber Master was not an undying saint and unable to truly unleash the holy treasure's potential power, it would still be extremely terrifying for him to even unleash part of its power. I previously obtained Master Gus' Interspatial Ring and was quite satisfied with my gains of the purple clock and this battle saber, so I did not think about attacking you to snatch your precious items. Unfortunately, you came to me by yourself, hence you cannot blame me for what's about to happen next. Saber Master smiled coldly as he looked at them snarkily with his eyes. So it's true that he obtained Master Gus' Interspatial Ring? Devilish Wind King growled slowly. He has finally admitted to it? Hong Qin and Long Xianzi also had darkened expressions on their faces. Haha, so what if I've admitted to it? Do you guys plan to snatch the Interspatial Ring from me? The Saber Master scoffed. You guys should think about how to survive my attacks first. A murderous intent flashed through the Saber Master's eyes once he finished speaking. Boom. Saber Master moved with the purple clock still engulfing his body as he held the crimson battle saber in his hands while burning flames rose. The crimson battle saber attacked Grand Ultimate God Hong Qin in an imposing and unstoppable manner like it was the king of sabers. Block him. Grand Ultimate God Hong Qin realized it was not a good idea to trifle with the Saber Master at that moment, hence he did not proactively move forward to engage the Saber Master. He instead ordered the 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets to form the corpse puppet formation and faced the attack. Shoo! The Saber Master shouted angrily and waved his crimson battle saber. A wave of horrendous power suddenly arrived. Saber Master's strength did not experience any great elevation as he was still under the Golden Light Domain, Prison of Punishment, and Sword World's triple suppression. The saber skills he displayed were one he previously displayed, with the only difference being the changed mystical weapon in his hands. Previously, it was only an offensive divine weapon at the pinnacle heavenly treasure level, which was switched to a holy treasure level at that moment. There was a huge difference between both items. Bang! Heaven and earth trembled following a loud bang. The violent divine power formed a storm and unscrupulously swept towards its surrounding. Amid the divine power storm, the corpse puppet formation formed by the 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets instantly collapsed, with 2 of the 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets killed on the spot while the remaining 2 were sent flying away. What? Grand Ultimate God Hong Qin's facial expression immediately changed when he saw that. The corpse puppet formation's combat power formed by the 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets was slightly stronger than a silver-armored corpse puppet, but they were instantly destroyed in the end by Saber Master in a single attack? Saber Master's strength had been elevated to such a level? Ah, die. Saber Master laughed out loudly as he continued to attack Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen after defeating those 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets. Shit. Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen was shocked and tried to escape in a crazed manner. Long Xianzi and Jianwu Huang who were alongside him also tried everything they could to stop Saber Master. However, Saber Master was extremely peremptory and completely unaffected. He already arrived behind Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen with just a couple of strides. The Crimson Battle Saber once again swung outward. A crimson saber light directly traveled forward brightly and dazzlingly. The saber light even carried burning flames around it. Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen had a crazed look in his eyes when he saw the crimson saber light coming toward him. Waves of dull lights also suffused from the black-colored armor covering his body like beast scales as a wave of ancient aura was unleashed. Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen had wanted to forcefully endure the saber attack by relying on his divine body and the defensive armor covering his body. However, the crimson saber light instantly cut the black armor following with some clanking sound before numerous scales on the armor immediately split apart before Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen's divine body was also directly cut open. Whoosh! The saber light flew through Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen's body and reappeared from the other side. Saber Master also appeared behind Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen with a cruel smirk at the edge of his mouth. How is this possible? Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen's eyes glared openly with a disbelief expression. He indeed felt the whole situation was unbelievable. After all, the defensive armor he had on was a pinnacle heavenly treasure he obtained from the secret realm. The defensive armor was extremely precious with astounding physical protective capability. He was quite confident in the defensive armor, hence he chose to forcefully endure Saber Master's attack in his moment of helplessness. He felt he should be able to withstand the attack or at worst, badly wounded by it. He was even prepared to be badly injured. However, he did not expect his pinnacle heavenly treasure defensive armor would be immediately cut open by the battle saber. The pinnacle heavenly treasure defensive armor seems as though it was made out of paper before the holy treasure crimson battle saber. A holy treasure is truly a holy treasure. Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen smiled bitterly at the bottom of his heart, but his chances of staying alive had been destroyed. Long Xianzi next to him was also horrified when she saw the situation. Saber Master took out the Holy Treasure Battle Saber and defeated all those 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets with one move before also killing Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen with a single attack. It had to be known that Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen was the strongest amongst them apart from Saber Master. In addition, Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen had a pinnacle heavenly treasure defensive armor but was still killed with a single hit. At that moment, if Saber Master wanted to kill them, would it not be, run? Long Xianzi did not hesitate as she was already frightened out of her mind and dared not continue fighting with Saber Master. Instead, she immediately turned around and wanted to escape. You want to escape? Saber Master still smiled coldly as he had been focusing on Long Xianzi since early on. Although the 4 of them joined forces during the battle alongside the 4 bronze-armored corpse puppets that besieged him, Hong Chen and Long Xianzi were the ones who had been confronting him head-on. Jianghu and Devilish Wind King had been looking for opportunities to attack him, hence both of them were quite far away. He had killed Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen at that moment, hence his next target would naturally be Long Xianzi. Die. Saber Master was extremely hostile and moved speedily. Although he was suppressed by domains, he was still much faster than Long Xianzi and had already caught up with Long Xianzi within moments. He did not give Long Xianzi any chances to escape once he caught up to her. Saber Master, I don't want Master Gus Interspatial ring anymore. Please spare me, cried Long Xianzi out in a shrill voice. Spare you? It's too late now. The Saber Master smiled coldly. He previously did not take action toward Long Xianzi and the rest as he had already gotten what he wanted. However, how could he stop at that moment since he had already taken action and killed Grand Ultimate God Hong Chen? Chapter 2739, Deeply Hidden Boom. Saber Master's aura was extremely violent as he gradually got closer to Long Xianzi. Saber Master, don't you force me. You'll have a terrible time if you push me too hard. Long Xianzi suddenly yelled out loudly with a black bead in her hand. The black bead looked like a normal steel ball. However, Saber Master was not the only one who could feel the horrendous destructive power from this black bead once it appeared. Even Jian Wushuang and Devilish Wind King in the void further away felt so. What's that? The Saber Master was stunned. This is the second precious item I've obtained from this secret realm, a meteorite bead. The first item is the bronze mirror that can release the golden light domain, while the other one is this meteorite bead. The meteorite bead is a domineeringly powerful single-use precious item. Its power is comparable to a full-strength blow of a peak grand ultimate god. Saber Master, try it if you dare. The most terrible ending is a life and death struggle between the two of us. Long Xinzi acted as if she was crazy. Ah, a life and death struggle between us? You think too highly of yourself if you plan to scare me off by simply taking a bead out. What a joke. It's best if you just accept your death. Saber Master laughed loudly and did not slow down his speed. Finally, he arrived behind Long Xinzi and waved the crimson battle in his hands. Long Xianzi's facial expression changed drastically as her beautiful eyes were filled with unprecedented madness and despair. Let's die together then. A wretched scream could be heard reverberating across the sky as Long Xinzi activated her divine power with the black bead in her hand that floated some distance forward. A wave of horrendous destructive power then immediately exploded from the black bead. The skies and land were ruined. The entire dark void was completely covered by the wave of destructive energy. The humongous golden prison Jian Wushuang created was instantly destroyed at that moment. The horrendous power was still crazily sweeping across, such that it even affected Jian Wushuang and Devilish Wind King, who were at the edge. Jian Wushuang and Devilish Wind King's expression drastically darkened as they had to immediately retreat in a risky way to avoid the power. The black void in front of them had been destroyed and was in complete silence. Such power! Jian Wushuang could not help but exclaim. Devilish Wind King exclaimed, Long Xinzi was right. Meteorite bead's explosive power just now was comparable to a peak grand ultimate god's full-strength attack. It was really powerful. I only wonder if Saber Master had died under such dangerous circumstances. Both Jian Wushuang and Devilish Wind King focused on the void in front of them. The area's situation soon appeared in their line of sight. The dark void had regained its peace with Long Xinzi completely disappeared in the middle of the void. She had disappeared from being completely crushed by the horrendous power. However, Saber Master was still standing in the void. It could be seen that Saber Master was slightly pale with some blood trickling on the edge of his mouth. However, the aura on his body had not been weakened. The purple clock was still engulfing his entire body despite growing dull from withstanding the crazy attack just moments ago. It could be seen that Saber Master had managed to withstand the terrifying power just moments ago and was not badly hurt. The bronze mirror and Long Xianzi's interspatial ring fell into the Saber Master's hands with the wave of his hand. Saber Master's cold eyes then looked over to Jian Wushuang and Devilish Wind King with killing intent. Hong Qin and Long Xinzi are dead. Both of you will be next. Saber Master had a snicker on his face. Jian Wushuang and Devilish Wind King had darkened expressions on their faces. Alliance Master Su-Han, don't hide any means that you have and use them all. Both of us might then have a chance to survive if we fight together, Devilish Wind King yelled from the side. Fight together? Jian Wushuang smirked before his body trembled and completely unleashed his understanding of space-time law as he instantly retreated. Alliance Master Su-Han. Devilish Wind King was startled before mumbling to himself, what a scum. He originally thought Jian Wushuang would join him and try their best to fight Saber Master, but did not expect Jian Wushuang would choose to immediately escape. Saber Master laughed heartily when he saw that. Ah, Su-Han is really smart. He's well versed in space-time law, so he's quite fast. I'm not confident in killing him if he truly wants to escape in this dark void. However, Devilish Wind King, you don't plan to run even when Su-Han escapes? Saber Master looked at Devilish Wind King with great interest. Devilish Wind King initially looked grim but soon had some slight changes to his facial expressions. He seemed to be extremely frightened previously, as though he was intimidated by Saber Master's power. However, his expression had softened at the moment he was left alone to face Saber Master despite Hong Qin and Long Xinzi being killed while Jian Wushuang chose to escape from the fight. A soft smile even started to grow on his face. Devilish Wind King coldly said, Saber Master, you've thought too highly of yourself. How are you worthy of forcing me to escape? Saber Master narrowed his eyes. Oh, Devilish Wind King? Although you're only a primary level grand ultimate god, you're quite famous in the Danyang continent. However, you've always been extremely cunning, which seems to be the truth. You must some last resort that you've never used despite encouraging others to take action. You've been observing from the side previously when Hong Qin, Long Xinzi, and Su-Han joined forces to kill me. You even wanted to make Su-Han fight me with his full strength after I've shown my true strength by killing Hong Chen and Long Xinzi. Ah. You keep making us fight each other while you gain profits without doing anything. What a great plan. I just wonder if your last resort is strong enough and if you're planning to face me alone. Saber Master stared at Devilish Wind King but dared not underestimate him. He was able to see the Devilish Wind King had been scheming against them since the beginning. He had been encouraging them to fight but never showed any of his methods. Devilish Wind King planned to only show his means at the moment Hong Chen and Long Xinzi died while Jian Wushuang escaped to the distant void. The Saber Master was certain the Devilish Wind King relied on something but he had no idea what it was. Saber Master, you aren't too stupid. Unfortunately, the others aren't as smart as you. Devilish Wind King smiled lightly and waved his hand. A figure appeared beside him out of nowhere. Saber Master's originally quite calm facial expression suddenly changed when he saw the person's sudden appearance. Devilish Wind King, you've hidden your intentions so deeply. Chapter 2740, Devilish Wind King's backing. Devilish Wind King, you've hidden so deeply. Saber Master tightened his fists as his eyes were filled with anger while he stared at Devilish Wind King and the figure that suddenly appeared beside him. However, Devilish Wind King only smiled coldly. On the other hand, the figure beside him was a bald man that was almost 2 meters tall. The bald man seemed lifeless without a hint of vitality and was another corpse puppet. However, gentle golden lights were being released from his body. Gold-armored corpse puppet. The bald man was a gold-armored corpse puppet. Previously, they chose to run without any hesitation when they were in the cemetery as they did not dare to fight a gold-armored corpse puppet whenever they came across one. Every gold-armored corpse puppet had the combat power of a peak grand ultimate god. However, the Devilish Wind King had waved his hand and taken out a gold-armored corpse puppet at that moment. Saber Master, I have to admit that both items that you previously obtained during these 2 trips to the secret realm, the purple clock on your body and the holy treasure battle saber, are extremely rare. The precious items you obtained must be the best compared to the rest. Unfortunately, my luck is better than yours. Devilish Wind King smiled. The first item I obtained 50 years ago when I came to this secret realm with all of you is this gold-armored corpse puppet. The item I obtained this time is also a corpse puppet. Devilish Wind King once again waved his hand as he spoke before another figure appeared beside him. It was another corpse puppet but with a gentle silver light being released from its body. It was a silver-armored corpse puppet. A gold-armored corpse puppet and a silver-armored corpse puppet stood next to the Devilish Wind King with one on the right while the other on the left. Devilish Wind King had a ghastly smile on his face. Saber Master's expression had grown extremely dark. He never imagined the 2 precious items Devilish Wind King obtained from the secret realm were 2 corpse puppets. The silver-armored corpse puppet was still fine, but he even obtained a gold-armored corpse puppet which had the combat power comparable to a peak grand ultimate god. No wonder you tried your best to get them to kill me. You wanted to get rid of the others with my power before dealing with me using your full strength, said Saber Master in a low voice. Devilish Wind King also directly admitted, indeed, if I directly took action when Hong Chen and Long Xinzi were still here, he'll still be able to overpower all of you with the gold-armored corpse puppet. However, if you were able to keep the gold-armored corpse puppet occupied for a moment, Hong Chen and Long Xinzi would be able to take action and could have easily killed me as I'm quite weak. However, Hong Chen and Long Xinzi have died while Su-Han escaped, leaving just the 2 of us. Apart from that, the power from Long Xianz's meteorite bead just now had wounded you. Under such circumstances, the gold-armored corpse puppet from my 2 corpse puppets would be enough to kill you while the silver-armored corpse puppet will be guarding me, leaving you with no opportunities. You're sure to die. Kill? Devilish Wind King yelled coldly and ordered the gold-armored corpse puppet beside him. The 2 meters tall gold-armored corpse puppet's horrendous aura was immediately unleashed. Its humongous body transformed into a stream of golden light before directly attacking Saber Master. Saber Master's facial expression darkened as he immediately swung the battle saber in his hands. A glaring crimson saber light fiercely slashed outward. Saber Master had activated a huge portion of the Holy Treasure's power. However, the gold-armored corpse puppet did not retreat when seeing the crimson saber light. It also had a huge saber in his hands and straightforwardly slashed forward fiercely. Clack. The crimson saber light immediately dimmed down with a loud bang as Saber Master was sent flying backward. The power of a peak grand ultimate god. Saber Master's facial expression darkened. It was true that he was extremely strong and considered one of the top powerhouses among high-level grand ultimate gods. He was almost invincible among high-level Grand Ultimate Gods when combined with his holy treasure. Ordinary high-level Grand Ultimate Gods such as Hong Chen and Long Xianzi were easily defeated by him even though they had used many means and precious items. However, he was unable to compete against a true peak Grand Ultimate God regardless of how powerful he was. The gold-armored corpse puppet indeed had the combat power of a peak Grand Ultimate God. Apart from that, the gold-armored corpse puppet was too peremptory. He was much more brutal compared to Saber Master and was extremely fast as the gold-armored corpse puppet rushed toward Saber Master. The saber in his hands was extremely strong as he waved it crazily, purely suppressing Saber Master with his strength. The saber light was swift and carried thunderous power as it completely locked onto Saber Master. Saber Master could only helplessly withstand the attack with his saber. However, he was completely crushed by the gold-armored corpse puppet's terrifying power during every collision with the residual power affecting the purple clock on the surface of his body. Every collision carried such results and after dozens of times, the purple color of the purple clock on the surface of his body had become extremely dull as though it was going to completely break. D***, I can't hold it anymore. Saber Master's complexion had turned slightly pale. Although the purple clock was a powerful defensive item, it was not completely invincible. The purple clock soon reached its endurance limit after repeatedly facing such strong impacts over and over again under such collision and overpowering strikes. Finally, the purple clock covering Saber Master's body directly broke with a loud bang. A strong collision directly impacted Saber Master's divine body and caused him to let out a muffled humph as blood immediately trickled from the corners of his mouth. He finally fails to withstand the attack. Gold-armored corpse puppet, kill him. Devilish Wing King had been observing from a void not far away and was delighted when he saw the purple clock on Saber Master's body surface had broken down. Saber Master naturally entailed strenuous effort to withstand the gold-armored corpse puppet without the purple clock's protection. His divine body had also failed to withstand the continuous collisions, hence his wounds worsened while his aura grew weaker. Saber Master had undoubtedly been forced to his very limits. He'll die if this continues. Saber Master looked at the dark voids around him with cold eyes. It was not that he did not want to escape, but he was different from Jianghu. He was unfamiliar with space-time law and could not travel speedily. Apart from that, the gold-armored corpse puppet was much faster than him and would not give him any chance to escape. He also thought about killing Devilish Wing King, but the gold-armored corpse puppet blocking him was giving huge pressures, disabling him to do anything else. The most important matter was Devilish Wind King still had a silver-armored corpse puppet by his side. Even if he was lucky enough to get rid of the gold-armored corpse puppet and arrived in front of Devilish Wing King, Devilish Wing King could still stop him by getting the silver-armored corpse puppet to take action. Just when Saber Master was forced into desperation and thinking hard to form countermeasures. Saber Master's expression suddenly wavered because he noticed a figure had arrived in the void not far behind Devilish Wind King. Chapter 2741. Finally made a move. Isn't this Zuhan? Saber Master narrowed his eyes. He was not the only person who noticed Jianghu who had appeared in the void behind him. Devilish Wind King noticed it as well. Alliance Master Suhan, you're so daring to return? Devilish Wind King turned around and glanced at Jianghu with a cold look in his eyes. Jianghu stood in the dark void and stared at Devilish Wind King with a smile at the corners of his mouth. Devilish Wind King, I've realized since earlier on that you were hiding your means all this while. I grew more alert toward you since you managed to escape from being chased by a gold-armored corpse puppet. It seems like my assumptions were correct. You own a gold-armored corpse puppet and a silver-armored corpse puppet. You're really quite strong. Devilish Wind King said with a snicker. So what if you realized? Hong Chen and Long Xianzi have died. What changes can you alone make? The person Devilish Wind King feared the most among the other 5 who entered the secret realm that time was Saber Master with Hong Chen and Long Xianzi next in line. As for Jianghu and Yi Xin, he did not pay much attention to them from the beginning. It was naturally the same at that moment since he did not pay much attention to them previously. You have a really good plan. Unfortunately, you've calculated something incorrectly, said Jianghu. What did I calculate incorrectly? Devilish Wind King asked. You've underestimated my true strength. Jianghu smiled oddly and instantly moved. Whoosh. The space-time law was directly activated as Jianghu's speed achieved its peak within moments. However, Devilish Wind King smiled in disdain as he pointed at Jianghu. What a joke, kill him. The silver-armored corpse puppet beside Devilish Wind King, who had not made any moves, immediately took action when he received Devilish Wind King's order. Although the silver-armored corpse puppet was not as terrifying as the gold-armored corpse puppet, its combat power was considered top-tier among high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. A silver-armored corpse puppet was capable of fighting head-on with Saber Master for some time, which self-explains his true strength. Devilish Wind King noticed Jian Wushuang might have hidden his true strength previously. However, he truly thought that a silver-armored corpse puppet was sufficient to kill Jian Wushuang with ease. Jian Wushuang smiled coldly when he saw the silver-armored corpse puppet coming toward him. A huge wave of golden divine power immediately coagulated behind him before the 10,000-foot-tall Golden Emperor once again appeared between heaven and earth. He also instantaneously activated the 7-star secret technique in his body, which directly raised his realm to another level. At the same time, a layer of dark gold-colored armor slowly appeared on the surface of his body. All 3 secret techniques, Divine God of Punishment, 7-star secret technique, and Precious Armor of the 9 Sparkle Star Armor, were activated at the same time. Jian Wushuang's strength had increased to its extreme level at that moment. Jian Wushuang then pointed with a single finger following his course of actions. Clatter, a wave of hazy dark golden light directly swept across all directions and completely covered the entire area within the blink of an eye. The surging golden divine power sea also came sweeping outward crazily as a huge prison was instantly formed. The 100,000-mile sword world was also directly unleashed without restraints. All 3 domains, Star Armor Domain, Prison of Punishment, and Sword World, had superimposed. Boom. The terrifying power immediately suppressed the silver-armored corpse puppet's body. Although the silver-armored corpse puppet was a corpse puppet without any consciousness, his body still suddenly paused under the suppression wave, with his skimming speed also immediately slowed down. Once all of that was executed, Jian Wushuang finally took action with his sword. It was the first time he took action after stepping foot in the secret realm and 30 years of training in retreat. No matter what previously happened in the secret realm, he only showed a small portion of his means and had never used the 7-star secret technique or 9 Sparkle Star Armor. He also did not unleash his divine power to its extremities. However, his divine power had reached its extreme level at that moment, with him activating all his secret techniques. Silver-armored corpse puppet, let's see if you can withstand this sword attack of mine. A fierce look burst outward from Jian Wushuang's face as he waved forward the Blood Mountain sword in his hand. It was a purely strong sword attack without any additional moves. However, the strength was enough to shake the heavens. The silver-armored corpse puppet suddenly raised his head under the crazy domain suppression as he fiercely punched forward. The punch came like a huge mountain before both attacks collided with one another. Bang! A low banging sound could be heard. The silver-armored corpse puppet was created using special means and had an extremely strong divine body. However, the silver-armored corpse puppet's outer layer punching hand had directly broken under the collision, with his entire arm twisted. The Blood Mountain sword's domineering power had directly sent the silver-armored corpse puppet falling toward the void below. On the other hand, Jian Wushuang had recovered with a slight tremble of his body. It was completely crushed in terms of power. The silver-armored corpse puppet, with the same combat power as a top-tier high-level Grand Ultimate God, was completely crushed by Jian Wushuang during a collision of pure strength. How's this possible? Devilish Wind King turned pale with fright when he saw what transpired. He had no idea that Jian Wushuang had crushed a top-tier primary-level Grand Ultimate God called FOE 30 years ago with his full power, even before he made a breakthrough. His power back then was already much stronger than FOE and very close to a high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. At that moment, he had made a breakthrough in his realm and reached the high-level Heaven Ultimate God, which resulted in a great increase of his divine power. As for his secret techniques, his Divine God of Punishment had achieved the 3rd level, and when coupled with the 10,000-foot-tall Divine God of Punishment, his strength at that moment was the highest among high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. He was no weaker when compared to Saber Master and slightly stronger than the silver-armored corpse puppet. It had to be highlighted that the silver-armored corpse puppet could not even use 70% of its true strength under his triple domain suppression. The silver-armored corpse puppet could only be completely crushed by Jian Wushuang when fighting against him under such circumstances in a fight that relied on pure strength. In order not to attract the others' attention, I've greatly downplayed my divine power and secret techniques. It's really a nice feeling now that I can finally take action with my full power. Jian Wushuang smiled softly, but the look in his eyes felt as though it might burst forward like 2 lightning bolts as he looked over to Devilish Wind King as a strong killing intent began to rise. *T. Devilish Wind King's expression darkened. He could see the strong killing intent in Jian Wushuang's eyes. He did not have any means to stop Jian Wushuang with the gold-armored corpse puppet fighting Saber Master and the silver-armored corpse puppet crushed by Jian Wushuang. Run! Devilish Wind King immediately made his decision and wanted to escape with his strong self-protecting means. During his course of escape, he immediately ordered the gold-armored corpse puppet to stop pestering the Saber Master and protect him instead. The gold-armored corpse puppet also did as ordered and immediately gave up fighting Saber Master and skimmed toward Devilish Wind King. However, Jian Wushuang slowly pointed his finger at the Devilish Wind King from the void at that moment. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.